I moved to this quiet town thinking I could leave the past behind. But the scars she left me never healed. I see her everywhere, hear her laughter in the wind, but it's all a cruel reminder of the life she ripped from me. She thought she could walk away, but I'm not done. No one betrays me and walks away unscathed. I've planned every detail, every step to make sure she pays. This town will be her prison, and I will be her warden. The game has just begun, and this time, I'm playing to win. The town meeting was filled with tension. People were clearly split into two groups, and insults were tossed back and forth between them. Just as the mayor was about to start the meeting, a tall man walked in and sat down at the back of the room. Many attendees turned to look at him, wondering which side he might be on. A quiet chatter began as neighbors tried to guess who he was, but no one seemed to know him. The mayor sat down and hit the gavel to start the meeting. Before he could even adjust the microphone, the arguments began. "We need to accept this proposal. We need to grow." From the other side, someone shouted back, "We should improve our town for the people who live here, not for newcomers." The mayor tapped the gavel several times to regain control. The sheriff stepped into the middle of the room to help, but this only made the shouting louder. It was clear that people came to argue, not to listen. The noise rose until the mayor's voice and the sound of the gavel were lost. The mayor and sheriff leaned close together, worried that the meeting might end before it started. Then, from the back, someone began singing loudly. The song was "Let Us Gather by the River." Soon another voice joined in, followed by a third. Before long, everyone was singing together, and the room fell quiet. Just as quickly as he started, the man sat back down. With the crowd now calm, the mayor turned to the man and said, "Thank you. You look familiar. Are you from this area?" "I've lived here for 2 years, but I don't come to town much." "Oh, you're the one who bought the Franklin place up on the ridge," the mayor said, and the man nodded. "Welcome. What's your name?" "Nobody really, they just call me Nick." "Thanks again, Nick." A thin man at the end of the row with a big golden cross on his chest said, "That was a lovely hymn. Are you a member of the church?" "Not really," Nick replied. "But you must have some faith," the man said, sounding relieved that he had no new competition. "Not quite," Nick said. "Why not?" the man asked, surprised. "Well, because I don't see why I should fear the one who created us and gave us the tools to survive and thrive." "So I'm more of someone who gives thanks," Nick added. A few townspeople chuckled lightly at his words. "Then you are a sinner," the man exclaimed, loud enough to be heard across the room. Nick replied calmly, "I have no doubt about that, but I do my best to be good." "Repent, or you'll be punished," the man shouted. "My ex-wife sort of handled that when we divorced. So far, it looks like it hasn't worked, but there's still time, I guess." His comment made the crowd laugh. The mayor noticed that the preacher was ready to talk for a while, so he changed the subject. "What brings you here tonight, Nick?" "Well, I've been here for 2 years, trying to settle in. If I want to be part of this community, I should get involved. From what I've heard and read, this discussion seems like a good place to start." "I understand. Do you have any experience with this topic?" The mayor was trying to keep the focus without making anyone upset. "Kind of. I've been part of a few business expansions, and I grew up in small towns, so yes, I have some experience." "Can I ask what your thoughts are on this?" "You can ask, but you might not enjoy my answer. Many don't. In the last 5 times I've gotten involved, my side lost. By now, the audience was more focused on the newcomer." "Well, that doesn't sound very hopeful. Can you explain a little more?" "Sure. The truth is, a town needs jobs and new businesses to be lively and grow. But to do that, the town has to be a place where people want to live and work. If they don't feel welcomed or safe, they'll look for jobs elsewhere or commute from different places. So both sides are right. They must work together, or they'll waste money and effort without good results. That's what I really believe, but it doesn't fit with either side. In my other projects, I faced problems. The mayor saw a chance to understand better and prompted, "Please continue." In my first expansion, the city offered many incentives like land and tax breaks. We moved a facility there that made one of our products. The process was loud and the locals complained, which made the workers uncomfortable. Many of those workers left before they even got settled, and local people didn't want to apply for jobs. It only lasted 2 years before it closed down. The townspeople were relieved, but the town had spent a lot of their budget without any results. I had told both sides at the start that we needed to work with the local people instead of ignoring their issues. Sadly, I lost my position because of it. I understand. So you're saying that the locals' views matter? Not completely. Both sides have very good points, but the all-or-nothing thinking needs to go. People need to talk with each other, not at each other, or nothing good will happen. That's what I believe. This county hasn't really grown in 25 years. I think there are about 30 more people here than there were in 1990. The average income here is about 12% lower than in the nearby growing counties, but it's similar to other towns of this size. Simply put, if nothing changes, nothing will improve. When I visit the town, I notice there aren't many shops or restaurants. I can get a pizza, but not any pasta. I can have chicken fried steak, but there's no grilled fish. As I drive around, I think that a fresh coat of paint could brighten up the town and make it more welcoming. Planting a few flowers around the courthouse and the square would also help. What I'm saying is that to grow, the town needs to be a place where people want to visit. But we have tight budgets, one of the councilmen said. Everyone faces budget limits, people, businesses, and governments alike. There are many ways to improve this town that don't cost money. They just need effort and a positive outlook. If you're only looking for free ways to grow, you might need to think outside the box to attract visitors. I doubt that's the right approach, but without care, something concerning could happen. The preacher looked unhappy, and some of the other councilmen shifted nervously. There were quiet murmurs from both sides, but nothing too loud. His last comment hit hard, but it also revealed a truth they couldn't deny. Nick took a look around and felt it was time to go. He slipped out quietly through the door, and few noticed he was leaving. He didn't see that a woman had also quietly left through a side door. As he reached his truck, she said softly, "That was quite a first impression you made on the locals." "I didn't plan for that, I promise." "Are you always that straightforward?" He smiled. "You must be either a lawyer trying to catch me or a friend of one of my ex-wives who found me." She laughed. "Neither. If you stay here long enough, you'll see I'm often called the local troublemaker." Troublemakers usually don't go to town meetings, so you must challenge the usual way of doing things and make people think twice. I like to think I help people see themselves clearly. "Oh, you must be a reporter or a writer or something like that." Let's just say or something. "Want to grab a coffee, or do you need a moment to breathe?" "Actually, if there's a place open, I'd like coffee and something to eat. I kind of missed lunch because I was driving." "Then follow me. As you've noticed, not much is open here after hours, but there's a place about 10 miles away that stays open. Not many locals go there." "Sounds like my kind of place. Lead the way." He followed her, though it was a bit tricky. She drove fast, but safely. His biggest worry at this time of year was the deer crossing the roads at night. Accidents happened at least once a week, and some were quite serious. She finally drove into the parking lot of a small diner along the old highway to the big city and stopped. He parked next to her. As they walked to the door, she asked, "What are you hungry for?" "Breakfast." "Oh, great, you think like me. How do you like your eggs?" "Scrambled with bell pepper, onions, and tomato if possible." They stepped inside, and the waitress greeted them warmly. The woman ordered right away, saying, "Coffee and 2 big ones. Make them messy and colorful." "Got it. There's an empty corner booth if you want it." "We do." She led him to a booth in the far corner, away from the other tables. "I like this spot. It's quieter. Works for me." As they sat down, she continued, "Now, about that idea you mentioned in the meeting about the town and a company. Before we dive into that, what's your name?" "Ah. Are you in a hurry? What name would you like me to have?" She had a playful look in her eye. He smiled back and said, "Any name you choose, just not my ex-wife's name." "Her again. All right, how about Nisi? Does that work for you?" "That's perfect. What's the last name?" "Let's keep it just Nisi. You set the rules." "Okay, Nisi Mirules is fine. I didn't use the words a relationship between a town and a company. But that's one way to think about it. That's what I want you to explain. It's pretty simple. Imagine you have a working-class town and you invite a research group to move in. Sounds nice, but how well will the researchers fit in with the local people? Probably not very well. The same goes the other way. If a factory opens in a middle-class neighborhood, it could upset a lot of people. So we should look for companies that fit the town's culture? That's one way to see it, but it can also be the more costly and competitive way. All right, smart one. If we don't chase after our potential partners, how do we find our perfect match? Nick looked at her and noticed she was really listening. He took a moment to think about his answer. Then he said simply, "Grow your own." Okay, now I'm lost. How do you do that? Answer some questions. Why does a company want to move or set up a new place? They are growing. They need more space. They have a new product that doesn't fit their current building, or their current location has become too expensive to run profitably. How many answers do you need? Any or none of those. What do these situations have in common? They are growing and need more space. Or they want to save money to be more successful or even to make a profit. She looked at him but didn't say anything. This community wants to bring in about 100 jobs, probably over the next 10 years. I've heard they are ready to spend up to $100,000 to attract those jobs during that time, right? Well, they hope to see more than 100 jobs in 10 years. What are you getting at? I don't understand. Instead of putting all your efforts into one business, why not find 10 small businesses with 4 or 5 workers each and help them grow? Good chances are coming. Think about that while we eat. I might get annoyed with you before I finish. You don't want to be rude to someone you find interesting, do you? Her mouth dropped open as she paused to reply. Close your mouth. It's not polite to eat with it open. I may tease you when I'm finished. That might not be charming either. Focus on your food, she mumbled while lifting her fork. Who says I need to be charming? I do. Now eat. Yes, of course. That ended the small talk before the meal. Still, both were deep in thought while they ate, getting ready for the next conversation. Nick liked the playful back and forth with this woman he had just met. He had stepped back from connecting with people since his divorce, but Nisi seemed to pull him out of his shell, impressing him with her approach. Nisi liked that a man would challenge her strong personality, but it also reminded her to be careful. Usually people like her wanted to take charge instead of working as equals. She wondered if she was actually drawn to this intriguing man. He was definitely good-looking and smart, but there was something unpredictable about him. She decided to raise the stakes once they finished eating. After their meal, she started the next conversation. Okay, tell me everything. All right, find 5 or 10 young people with drive and an idea. Offer them affordable space and, not that, about you. Spill it. Nope, too direct. One question at a time. You choose with a clear answer and no back and forth. Really? I have one, but you do too. How old are you? Let's see. If I'm right, I'm 39 years old. Now it's my turn. I didn't agree to that. My rule. Answer 1. Ask 1. You used to be fun. She took a breath and added, Okay, what? Do you consider yourself open to new experiences? She sat up straight. How can you ask such a personal question to someone you just met? Because it's not polite to ask a woman her age. Besides, I know what I think. I just want to see if we think alike. All right, what do you think? We both know. Why should we talk about it here? This has been a lot of fun. Thank you for showing me this restaurant. I think I will come here more often. Now I need to get some rest. Should I pay the bill, or will you? You can pay the bill, but I hope you can sleep later. She paused and looked at him carefully. I'm not done with you yet. I figured you weren't. He stood up to go to the counter when he heard someone say, Guilty, from behind him. Are you coming, or are you going to let a gentleman walk you to your truck? I would like that. Is there a gentleman around? The waitress was laughing a lot now. Nessa, you two make a great pair. He's a good catch. Nessa turned red and started to stammer. Nick smiled at the waitress and said, Nessa, right? She started this relationship by not telling me the whole truth. Should I end it? Oh no, you are the best thing that has happened to her in a long time. Okay then, what is her last name? She won't tell me. Nessa took his arm and looked at the waitress. Only one answer a day, and you have had yours. Leave her a nice tip, and Wanda, don't encourage him. He's being silly. If that is what you want, Mrs. Blankenship, I can't get any respect anywhere. Come on, Mrs. Blankenship. Time for you to go home and rest, too. If you call me Blankenship again, I will really be upset. That was my married name a long time ago. Ah, the secret is slowly coming out. Please drive safely home. I don't like the idea of you having an accident. I thought that might make you happy. Not at all. I would feel bad visiting a memorial, and I prefer being with real people. Despite your joking, you are really kind. She gave him a friendly kiss on the cheek. Don't say that to my ex. She would laugh or something worse. Give me her name and I'll check it out myself. You have already had your answer for today. Have a good night. He opened the door to her truck and waited for her to sit down. As she started to speak, he shut the door and walked to his truck. She just sat there watching him. Then he drove away into the night. Soon after getting home, Nick fell asleep with a smile. The next day, he visited 2 friends and returned home at 4:30. On his front door was a note. Before opening it, he had a feeling he knew who it was from. He was right. Meet me at the diner at 5 o'clock. Barbecue. Bring a bottle of my favorite red wine. It was signed Nessa Blankenship. He smiled, wondering if this meant a friendly challenge. He took 5 minutes to change his shirt and clean up. Then he spent another 10 minutes looking through his wine rack to choose the right wine. He finally picked a nice Pinot Noir. She didn't seem like someone who enjoyed sweet drinks or trendy things, so he chose a classic, rich red. Before he left, he grabbed a bottle opener and put it in his pocket. It's better to have it and not need it, he thought. It took him just 10 minutes to drive to the diner. When he parked, the clock in his truck showed exactly 5 o'clock, but it changed to 5:01 before he turned off the engine. A moment later, niecey Nessa came out of the diner carrying a picnic basket. She walked over to his truck. You're late. I'm not late. I got here exactly at 5 o'clock. Now it's 5:01. Still late. Boys who want to spend time with me are usually 15 minutes early. I got your note only half an hour ago, and I wanted to tidy up first. That's just an excuse. Are we taking my truck or yours? With that kind of attitude, we'll take mine. If you get upset, I'll go home and you can walk. My feet are already tired today. That's one way to start our first outing. Let me take this and help you to your ride for the evening. He took the basket with one hand and held her arm with the other as he led her to the passenger side. He put the basket in the back seat and opened the door for her. When he helped her in, he felt a light shiver run through her. Are you cold? Of course not. Why do you ask? Just being polite. That's up to me to say, and right now I'm still thinking, okay, I'll be on my best behavior. She playfully tapped his arm. What was that for? We're going on a picnic with others, so you better impress me. Okay, are you Nisi or Nessa today? For this group, I'm Denny. You can't ask any questions about me to the others. If you do, I'll drive your truck home and you'll be stuck here. That's a fun way to start our outing. Now we have 3 warnings. Is this a date? You asked me, so you tell me. I'll tell you if you say goodnight properly. Wow, can I take you home now? Not your best move. What kind of music is that? That's what was playing on the radio when I got the truck, and I can't change it. There are some CDs in the glove box. Pick one. She reached over to the radio and pressed a button. The radio moved through a few channels before she stopped on a station playing soft country music. That's better. Are you one of those guys who doesn't read the owner's manual? They come with a manual? She opened the glove box and pulled out a wrapped book of instructions that had never been opened. She placed it on the console, saying, You should read this if you're new at this. Read? Is that what it takes to date you? Come on now. Why are you so interested in my back? Because as I get more frustrated, I might show my feelings in ways that would surprise you. You mean like taking a scenic route? Don't tempt me. Hey, we've gone in a circle. Well, you didn't tell me where we were heading, and I'm not wasting my one question on that. Just go 2 miles that way and turn right. There's a sign at the gate. Bill Paxton's place? Why didn't you just say so? It would have saved me some gas. She could only drop her jaw and say nothing as he turned into the driveway and parked next to other trucks. He saw a big concrete area surrounded by trees, with picnic tables and a large grill near the main house. As he started to get out, she grabbed his arm and said, Now listen, my name is Nick. Stop. You can't ask anyone here anything about me. I mean it. You already warned me that it would cause trouble if I did. Trust me. For once. Ugh. When they got out, a man who looked like he was between Nisi, Nessa, and Denny's age walked up and said, "Hi, Denny. I'm so glad you could come." He turned to Nick and said, "Nick, this is awesome. I didn't know you knew Denny." Denny cut in, "Bill, you are not to answer any questions about me to him. It's very important." Nick added, "The trouble is mine, so don't let me ask." Bill smiled and said, "Got it. Let the fun begin." "Denny!" a woman called as she ran over and hugged her. "Bill said you might not come. I'm so happy. Who's this guy? Is he your new friend?" Denny turned bright red and started to stutter. Nick stepped forward and said, "Hi, I'm Nick, and the only thing she wants is to keep me out of everything." "Oh, dear. Is it that serious? I'm Mandy. How long have you known her?" "Let's see, just under 24 hours, more or less." Mandy smiled and asked playfully, "What name did she call you?" Denny regained her voice and said, "Mandy, don't go there." Nick replied, "First, she was Nisi, then the waitress called her Nessa, and just now she said she's Denny." Mandy laughed loudly while Denny playfully punched Nick's arm. "Hey, you'll make me drop your drink. It cost at least $2 or $3, Denny then told Mandy, "and you can't talk to him either, or there will be problems." Nick asked, "What is this thing she has with certain topics?" Bill answered, "I would tell you, but then we'd all be in trouble. Let's go meet the others. Denny, bring Mandy when she stops laughing." Bill led Nick towards a big fire where a grill had racks of ribs and several steaks cooking. Denny followed, giving Mandy a serious look. "Guys, this is the guy I told you about. Nick, I don't know your last name." "Hi, everyone." "I'll just go by Nick, except for Denny, who likes to call me funny names," he said with a laugh. This made everyone laugh, and some people chimed in with, "Welcome to the club." Nick got a playful tap on the arm. Denny stepped forward and said with a serious look, "And if anyone shares anything about me, I'll remember it for later." A couple of people repeated, "She's got it bad," with nods and giggles. Then a guy said, "Sit down, Denny, and pour yourself some of that drink you have. After we eat, we want to talk to Nick. Don't chase him off before we get our chance." She turned to Nick and teased, "So what am I drinking tonight?" Laughter followed. "I brought this red wine, but since you were so lively with it, you might want to step back. It might fizz when I open it." More laughter. She stepped back while he popped the cork and poured her a cup. "You mean you didn't bring me a real glass? Oh, wow, this is nice." Bill looked at the bottle and said, "It should be. This one costs about $75. Denny nearly spilled her wine when she heard that. Nick just shrugged and said, "That's what I had at home. Besides, I get it for a good price." The man at the grill called out, "Okay, everyone, if these cook any longer, they'll be too crispy. Get your plates, ladies, first." Mandy pulled Denny to the table, whispering as they walked. Nick just stood quietly while others moved around. Bill noticed Nick and came over. "In case you didn't see, Denny is everyone's favorite, but they love to tease her." "I can see that, but she seems to handle it well." "She does, and she can tease back just as well. I shouldn't say this, but the only thing that really bothers her is the Blankenship situation. She was in love with him, but he married her for money. It only lasted 2 years before she ended it. She still feels bad about being used." "I kind of thought there might be something like that. We all have our past. I won't bring it up, and thanks for the warning. I won't pry into her life. I want her to share what she wants to tell me." "You're a good guy, Nick. She will notice that, even with the teasing. So far, this has been fun, but I'm careful about what to say. Are there any other topics to avoid?" "Not really. She is a bit sensitive about how people see her in the community. We all went to school together and know her well. Some folks might think differently about her, but she usually deals with that fine." "Okay, then. Let's get some dinner. I skipped lunch again today." They filled their plates and joined Denny and Mandy at one of the picnic tables. Denny immediately gave Bill a look, and when he shook his head, she turned to Nick. "So, what stories did Bill tell you about me?" "I know he did." "Well, he did say you're really just 18 and a natural redhead, but that's all he would tell me, even when I offered him money. Now I know you're making things up. Bill would sell Mandy for $20 and me for $5. "He said you cost 10, Nick shot back. looking upset. Bill jumped in, saying, "I meant 10 if you bought 3 heads of cattle or more. The market is a bit tough right now." Mandy playfully swatted her husband, leaving some barbecue sauce on his shirt. "Can I get a discount for 3, but not Denny?" "Nope, it's a package deal." "All right, I'll buy, but I want a written promise that I can return them if they don't work out." "Only for the cattle." "I wasn't concerned about the cattle." Nick earned himself some barbecue sauce on his shirt, too. As dinner was coming to an end, Nick filled Denny's glass with more wine. At that moment, 3 other men joined them at the table. "Nick, I'm Tom Jenkins. Bill mentioned that sprayer nozzle you talked about. Could you explain it to us? We all have similar issues." "Sure, happy to help. All sprayers work in a similar way. A pump pushes the material through a hose at a certain pressure. There's a nozzle at the end with a small hole. That's where the pressure builds up and creates the spray pattern. It's also sized for the job it's meant to do. Over time, the harsh chemicals can wear that hole, changing its shape. Some of the chemicals also stick, making the edges rough. This can cause the spray pattern to come out unevenly. If it's not too bad, you can use a drill bit to clean it up a bit, which helps. Most nozzles are made of steel, so they won't last a long time anyway. The best way is to get a piece of stainless steel and drill it yourself. That can improve how it works, but over time, it might still get a bit rough. When that happens, drill it out a little bigger and increase the pump pressure by about 5 or 10 psi. That will balance things out and keep the spray fairly consistent. Tom Jenkins looked at the others, and they nodded in understanding. That sounds so simple. And it really works? When you look closely at most machines, the ideas behind them are pretty straightforward. But each company makes theirs just different enough to make customers think theirs is the best. Over time, people forget the details and just come back to buy more parts that cost a lot. It's like the old days with cameras. They sold you the camera, but made a fortune selling film and developing it. One of the others chuckled and said, "Kind of like computer printers. They sell the printer cheap, but keep charging for the ink cartridges." Nick smiled, saying, "You got it." Denny listened quietly, but also noticed how easily Nick interacted with the others. This was clearly more than just an act. It was part of who he was. But it also brought up many questions about his past. One of the others asked, "Won't the makers get mad if you mess with their products?" Nick frowned a bit before answering. Some might. They think they own the laws of physics and mechanics. They promise their new items will last just enough to please customers, but they know how long each part will really last. They are happy to sell you replacements when things break. They actually like it when people start changing things because then they can avoid taking any blame. The tricky part for users is knowing what you can change and what you should leave alone. Changing the nozzle is usually safe, but switching to a stronger pump can cause issues. Several people nodded, recalling their own experiences with fixing things. Nick wrapped up by saying, "As long as you stick to simple changes that don't change how the item works, you should be fine." "Thanks. I've got a sprayer that isn't working, and the company went out of business. I either need to buy a new one or fix this one somehow. Try this method. If it doesn't help, let me know and I'll take a look for you." The men got up and returned to their conversations, while Nick turned back to Denny, Bill, and Mandy. Mandy asked, "You seem to really know your stuff. Is this your job?" Denny listened closely, curious about his answer. "In a way. I studied mechanical engineering but got very interested in hydraulics. There's something cool about moving liquids to do work for you. So yes, that is part of my background, or at least it used to be. Now I do many different things." Bill stood up and said, "It's time to move on to other activities. I'll turn on the music." Mandy smiled and nudged Denny, who looked at Nick and asked, "Are you going to dance with me or chicken out?" "Are those steel-toed shoes or just for show?" He gave her a playful poke in response. "Mandy, did she try out for a wrestling or football team? She seems good at it." "No, she knows it's a way to catch the eye of someone she likes." "Mandy, come on, let's dance and stop bothering Mandy. We know you're interested in me. Let's focus on that for a bit." "What do you mean? You know you're interested in me, too. How can you say—" As they entered the dancing area, he spun her around and then pulled her close. She was surprised by the spin, but even more so when he brought her in near, especially since the song was so upbeat. Once she calmed down, she said, About your interest in me, you wouldn't be dancing with me like this if you weren't. Part of getting to know each other is seeing how well we connect. And you seem like a good fit. She playfully tapped his shoulder and said, "You should know that many people admire this kind of confidence. They may never get to be so close to it. Consider yourself lucky. Very few get to share this time with me, too." You seem like a good fit. Leaning in closer, she spoke softly. "I think you'll be surprised by the end of the night." He playfully teased her by nibbling her ear and then asked, "How excited are you to enjoy tonight fully?" In a fun tone, she whispered back, "If you try to make any bold moves, you'll never see me again. I promise not to cross any lines, but who knows how the night will go." He then jokingly brushed his lips near her ear, making her shiver a bit. "That's not happening. We'll see about that." The song changed to a slower rhythm, and he smoothly guided her around the dance floor as if they had been dancing together for ages. 2 hours later, they had finished the wine, chatted with different couples, enjoyed dessert, and danced many times. As people started to say their goodbyes, they went to Bill and Mandy to thank them. Mandy hugged Nick and whispered, "Treat her well, and you'll have a wonderful person with you. Treat her poorly, and I'll be watching." He hugged her back and replied, "No need to worry. I have no plans to treat her badly. Right now I'm just focused on being nice for both our sakes." "Good choice. Thanks for taking her out. She doesn't go out much. She often takes on too much." "If she wants, we'll hang out more often." Denny overheard them and asked, "What plan are you two talking about?" Nick said, "Nothing much. She just said she'd help me find someone nice when you decide to move on." This got him a few playful nudges from both women until Bill laughed and took Mandy away. Nick took Denny's arm to lead her to the truck, saying, "Calm down. Mandy did mention that she's more daring than you. Then maybe you should be with her instead of me. I like having some excitement in my life." "Ha! We'll see about that. I'm sure we will." They drove quietly until they were halfway back to her car. Then she took his hand and said softly, "I have no plans to end things with you." She paused. "Actually, I'm more worried about you wanting to end things." He thought for a moment before finding the right words. "We just met and are still getting to know each other. So far, I don't see any reason to think about that." "I really hope we can keep exploring this connection for a long time," she said. She squeezed his hand and smiled. "I'd like that." "Me too," he replied as he parked next to her truck. He got out and helped her out. They both stood between the two vehicles, shifting their feet awkwardly. Finally, Nick asked, "So, do you think I've been good enough tonight to get a nice smile to end the day?" She smiled and replied, "What do you think?" "I think I want to enjoy this moment." He gently wrapped his arms around her, creating a warm feeling between them. She closed her eyes and leaned into him, appreciating the closeness. They stood like that for a little while, just enjoying the comfort they felt together. He could feel her relax, and when she spoke, her voice was soft. "Can you take me home?" "Where is your home?" he asked. "Not mine, yours," she replied. He opened the door of his truck and helped her inside. As he started the engine, she leaned over and rested her head on his shoulder while holding his hand. He drove home slowly, enjoying the peaceful moment, but when he parked in front of his house, he noticed she had fallen asleep. He carefully lifted her out of the truck and carried her inside. He laid her on his bed, took off her shoes, and covered her with a warm blanket. Then, he went to the living room and lay back in his chair, thinking about the evening. Soon he drifted off to sleep, too. He woke up slowly when a hand gently touched his cheek. "Why are you sleeping out here?" she asked. "Because you were in the bed. 2 bedrooms, but only 1 bed." You could have joined me," she said. "Yes, but I'm not sure we are both ready for that yet. Soon, I hope, but just not yet." "You might be right, but still. We're in the same place and woke up together. Now we can figure out who will make breakfast or if we are going out." "There will be no debate. Either you make it or I will get breakfast. I'm not good in the kitchen," she said. "Okay, I'll have breakfast ready in about 20 minutes, he replied. "Really? Would I lie to you?" "Only if you are fully awake." She smiled at him. Then she added, "I want to share another moment like we did last night." Your wish is my order. Before or after breakfast? Tonight. She smiled wider. That will make it even better. Better for you or for me? He asked. We will see when we get there, she said playfully. Can I look around your place while you make breakfast? He asked. Of course. Make yourself at home. The full tour takes about 5 to 8 minutes. I'll have your coffee ready when you come back. Great. I'll start with the bathroom, he said with a grin. He nodded as he put the bacon in the oven and continued making breakfast. When she came back, she said, Cute room. Is that for your friends? He seemed to tense up, and she realized she had touched on a sensitive topic. She quickly added, It's for your daughter, isn't it? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bring that up. That's all right. It was bound to come out eventually. How long has it been since you've seen her? 3 years. Wow. He took a deep breath and let it out slowly. We keep in touch online. I use a different name. Does she know it's you? Yes. He put the biscuits in the oven and poured her a cup of coffee. In about 15 minutes, breakfast will be ready. She knew they would not discuss that any further this morning. Thanks. I'm going to take a look around outside. She waved goodbye and stepped outside. Her feelings got the better of her before she reached the bottom of the steps. She wandered around and discovered his garden, which she admired for its careful design and healthy plants. She also saw a half-finished garden shed that impressed her, although she wondered how much work he had done himself. She guessed he had likely planned and built most of it by hand. Finally, she prepared herself to go back inside. As she walked back in, he said, Just in time. Let me refill your coffee and breakfast is ready. Did you find anything interesting? I love your garden. I can't wait to see the shed when it's finished. It's very special. Thanks. The garden was my project last year. This is the first year I've planted anything there. I hope to finish the shed before fall and the rains come. I need to store a lot of things there instead of all around the house. She looked at the nicely set table for breakfast and smiled. If he cooked like this regularly, she would enjoy every bite, even if she worried about her waistline. Then we'll make sure you have time to finish it. Do you always cook this much? Are you trying to keep me from getting hungry? He laughed. Not at all. I make extra and freeze it. I'll have 3 or 4 breakfasts from this. Just eat as much as you like. They shared a laugh and enjoyed their meal. Once they finished and relaxed in their chairs, Denny said softly, On Sunday I need to go to Fort Worth for a trade show. I need to talk to a company about some parts we need. Would you like me to come with you? As soon as she asked, she noticed the frown on his face. Normally I'd be glad to go with you, but I think I should sit this one out. Oh? Is there a problem? Let's just say I'm not usually welcome in Fort Worth or Tarrant County. Are you in trouble? Is the police looking for you? No, he sighed. I have a restraining order against me for certain areas in Fort Worth, so it's best if I steer clear of there. Denny paused for a moment and then said, Ex-wife and daughter. His frown told her she was right. Yes, it was a misunderstanding, and now I'm not allowed to go near her. It seems that having resources can change how things turn out. She noticed the bitterness in his voice. After a moment, he asked, Would you like to meet me in Dallas for dinner on Sunday? Sure. What's the plan? There's a great seafood place near downtown. I think I know it, but I haven't been there. What time should we meet? How about 6? Will that give you enough time to arrive? Let's say 5:30. I won't take long to get ready. Perfect. Should I wear slacks, jeans, or something nice? Oh, a nice dress would be lovely. She smiled. I should have known you'd prefer that. He joked, just so you know I'm not old. And if you don't notice my outfit, I might have to make you. I know, you'll tease me about it. They both laughed. Then she said, I hate to rush off, but I have 2 meetings to get to. Can we meet for dinner later? What time and where? 6 at the Italian place. You know I'll be dressed up for it. Consider it done. She laughed and called him an idiot, but he had a sparkle in his eye that she missed. 15 minutes later, he waved quietly as she left the cafe. She smiled and said she'd see him later. Nick went home and spent the day working on his garden shed, but he mostly thought about Denny. At 4, he went inside to get ready for the evening. When he drove up to the Italian restaurant, he felt a bit nervous. but it eased when he saw her truck parked out front. He took a deep breath and stepped out, greeted by friendly smiles from a couple also entering. Denny laughed heartily as he walked in. "I love it! I would never have thought you had such style. You look great." "Yeah, but I might be missing some fashionable details." "Where did you find this outfit? It looks so good on you." "I got it in Scotland a couple of years ago and I love it. I just don't wear it often. You made me want to—" "You have my permission to wear it any time." "Thanks." They enjoyed a lovely Italian dinner with a nice bottle of wine. Their conversation was light and fun, and as they got more comfortable, the mood changed slightly. When they finished eating, Denny leaned in with a playful look and asked, "Are you ready for what comes next?" "Of course. What are we doing, and am I dressed okay?" She smiled. "You're perfectly dressed, but you have to trust me for the rest." He smiled back. "I think I'm in for some fun. Would I put you in a tough spot?" He thought for a moment. "Well, maybe just a little, but it should be fine. Let's go." Feeling a bit uncertain about what was ahead, Nick stood up and walked with Denny to the parking lot. He asked, "Should we take one truck or two tonight?" "Just park yours in the lot next door. It will be safe there. I'm driving tonight." "Now I know I'm in for something surprising with a great friend." "Do you want to run away?" she teased. "Not right now, but we have the whole evening ahead." "Just move your truck over. Tonight, you're with me." He parked his truck and climbed into the passenger seat of her vehicle. "I trust you completely." "All right, but buckle up. We have about an hour to drive. You can pick the music for tonight." Where's the owner's manual? I was told I can't use fancy things without reading it first." "That's a good joke." "You called?" He decided to listen to the music already playing, which turned out to be light classical music. He enjoyed it a lot. As they chatted and joked as usual, she didn't say anything about where they were going or what they would do. So he was very surprised when she pulled into the parking lot of the high school in the nearby county. "Come on, it's time to get to work." "Work? Do you really expect me to go out there looking like this?" "Yes, that sounds about right. This could have big consequences." "I can't wait. Get out and escort your partner like the nice guy you are." "Who are you talking about?" "Very funny." He held her arm as they walked through the front door and into the auditorium, where an older man greeted them warmly. "Denny, thank you for coming on such short notice. You must be Nick. I'm Tom Phillips, the principal here. Denny said you are really qualified to help us tonight. One of our judges had to back out, and we really appreciate your help. By the way, if I had known you liked to wear a kilt, I would have worn mine too. Come in and get comfortable. We'll start judging in about 30 minutes. Then he hurried away. Nick looked at Denny, who was smiling widely. "Okay, Miss Wonderful, what exactly have you signed me up for tonight?" "I didn't make you do anything. You chose to come because you're curious about this event. After this, my curiosity might turn into a need to tell you exactly what I think. Not tonight. Maybe another time. It's simple. This is a competition for robotic students from 4 counties. 5 schools are involved, and each school has 1 to 4 teams. Smaller schools have 1 or 2 teams, while larger schools have teams from each grade. Your job is to judge their ideas and creativity and then score them from 1 to 5. And what will you be doing while I do this? I'm sort of the sponsor for this event. I get to stick around and take notes on what you and the other judges say and the scores you give. Then I get to hand out the trophies to the winners." Nick was thinking about this. Even though he didn't want to show it, he felt a spark of excitement about the evening. So, what problem did they need to solve? They each have a 1-pound block placed 3 feet away from a table. They have to move the block to the table and put it on top using 3 different machines. They can't use an outside power source or direct help from a person. They can wind up a winch or something like that, but that's it. The winch and the other machines need to do the job by themselves. There are engineering students with advanced degrees who might struggle with that. This will be interesting. Tom Phillips returned and said, "Each team is in a different room down the hall. Feel free to take a look around and get used to what's going on. And thanks again, Nick. It's not easy to find someone with your knowledge on such short notice." "All right, Miss Planner. Show me the way and let me see what I will be doing." Denny smiled, happy to see his interest growing. She felt proud that she had sparked his curiosity. She led him down the hall to explore. Each team was busy testing and adjusting their machines. Nick quickly noticed how the projects varied in complexity and creativity. Some were really unique, while others were straightforward and practical. All of them showed that these students were on the right path to successful careers. 3 hours later, Nick and the other 2 judges met to agree on the results, which they gave to Denny. Some projects worked well, but many had small or big problems along the way. Still, Nick was very impressed with everything he saw and felt proud to be part of the evening. In the auditorium, students and their parents waited eagerly for the results. The judges sat on the stage next to the trophies. Denny stood up and went to the microphone. "Hello, everyone. I think I can say this has been our best competition so far. This is the 5th year of this event, and I couldn't be prouder of the outcome. Before we share the results, I want to introduce the judges and let them say a few words. Mike Jenkins from the university, what do you think of tonight?" The other man stood and walked to the microphone. "I am really impressed. Any of you students would be welcome at our school and in my classes right now. Some projects worked and many didn't, but that's part of learning. As we say in engineering, every failure is a chance to grow. Go home feeling proud of yourselves tonight." Denny then said, "Sally Myers is the leader of the Women in Science and Engineering Foundation from Austin. Sally? First, I want you to know how happy I am to see so many young women here tonight. Engineering has mostly been a men's field, but more women are joining in and making a real difference. So keep up the great work and congratulations to all of you. Our last judge is new. As far as I know, he has never been in a program like this before. He is a mechanical engineer who works with hydraulics. His name is Nick, but he won't share his last name. So, Nick, the microphone is yours. Try to keep it brief." She smiled as he stood up. Nick looked at Denny with a grin and said, "I want to ask about this is sort of tricked me part. You asked me to wear this outfit, then brought me here and told me to be nice to everyone. I think you got me good." The audience laughed loudly. "First, I want to ask Principal Phillips if I can still sign up for this school and join this program. If this had been around when I was in high school, I probably wouldn't have passed any other class because I would only have wanted to create things that actually work." This brought even more laughter. "Finally, I want to say something to all the participants. No matter who wins the trophies tonight, all of you are winners for life. You have learned a very important lesson: how to face and solve a problem. The answers may not come easily, but you made progress, and that is how we have moved forward for thousands of years. You are now part of our future, no matter what you choose to do. Thank you for letting me be a small part of this." This earned him a big round of applause. He was quiet in the car for the first 15 minutes until Denny asked, "Are you upset with me for putting you in this situation?" He snapped out of his thoughts and replied, "How could I be upset with you for letting me take part in one of the best nights I've had since college?" Her face lit up at his words. She then added shyly, "I felt a bit embarrassed introducing you without your last name. Do you think we can fix that soon?" Nick took a moment before answering. "This has been fun, but you're right. There are a few things I need to figure out. Can you wait 2 more weeks? If you can, plan on coming to my house for dinner then. I'll share everything with you no matter what happens. Nick, I will wait as long as you need. I care about you, and I don't want to do anything that hurts you. 2 weeks is a small price to pay, and I will be there." Good. Here's a simplified version of the provided text while removing any inappropriate content. Let's talk about tomorrow. I've been thinking. Does that mean I'm in trouble? She laughed to calm her nerves. I hope not. I just wanted to know if you were serious the other night about helping the town grow again. Of course. We haven't discussed that much since. Do you have an idea? Maybe. He took a deep breath. There's a man named Leroy Johnson. I think he'll have a booth at the show you're going to. He used to fix farm equipment at a company where I worked and was really good at it. He left to start his own shop for farming tools. I hear he's doing okay, but he needs a bigger space. We talked about how a town and its businesses can work together, and he would be a great fit for this town since it's mainly about farming. If you can find a place that works for him, he could really help. If you're interested, check him out at the show. You don't need to mention me, he doesn't know me. I feel there's more to it, but I'll trust you and we'll definitely see him. They drove on for 10 more minutes until Nick said, Is this the way back? It looks different. That's because we're going to my house. Last night I stayed at yours. Tonight, you're staying with me. We'll get your truck and have breakfast in the morning. Are you sure this is okay? I'm sure it's a great idea. I have 4 bedrooms, but we'll probably just use one. I promise I won't take advantage of you. I'm more worried about myself taking advantage of you. Honey, that won't happen. Oh? I can be patient about some things, but not all. I might get annoyed sometimes. Nick sat quietly until she took his hand. Nick, I'm just joking a bit, but what I really want is another sweet goodnight kiss and to sleep in your arms like we did last night. Anything else can wait. I can promise you that if we share a kiss, we will definitely hold each other. Anything more can be talked about. I'm okay with that. We're almost there. Nick looked out the window but still didn't recognize anything as she pulled through a gate. The road seemed to go on forever, and he saw no lights or signs of life. She drove carefully, knowing where every bump in the road was, until she turned left. Then he saw a big farmhouse with the porch light on in front of them. All he could say was, "Wow!" Denny said seriously, "My great-grandparents started this farm and built the first log cabin here. This place has been home to 5 generations, and each one has made it bigger or better. I hope you like it. This is the only place I've ever called home, except for my college dorm. It's beautiful. I hope I get to see the rest of the place someday. You will, but not tomorrow. We need to grab your truck and have breakfast before I head to Fort Worth. I already picked out the dress I'll wear tomorrow night. I can change at my brother's house." "He lives in Fort Worth?" he asked, a bit worried. "Actually, he lives in Dallas, but has a place in Fort Worth, too. It's for sale, but the housing market is slow right now. I'll change at his house in Dallas." "That's interesting," he replied, sounding relieved. "Here we are." At that moment, they both felt a little quiet. The weight of the night hung in the air. As she opened the door, she suggested, "How about a glass of wine first?" "That sounds like a great idea." She took him to a cozy room beside the living room, where she poured 2 glasses of wine. They sat close together on a small couch, unsure of what to say next. Finally, she said, "Nick, I feel just as scared as you do. My past marriage left me unsure about men until you came along. It's been almost 5 years since I was with a man, and it wasn't a good memory. Can you be patient with me?" "I can, as long as you can be patient with me, too. My divorce was final 3 years ago, but I hadn't been with a woman for a couple of years before that because things were tough. I want to be with you, but I'm also afraid. I never made my ex-wife happy, and I'm not sure if I can make someone like you happy." She looked at him for a moment and then said, "That settles it. Whenever we choose to be together, it will be because we truly want to, without any old problems weighing us down. It won't be tonight, but until then, we'll try to leave our pasts behind. How does that sound?" His reply was a soft kiss. She felt a flutter as their lips touched. Then she said, "Put your wine down. Whether you're ready or not, it's time for more kisses. Soon, those unsure moments will be behind us." She led him down the hall to the bedroom. "Keep your clothes on, but get comfortable in bed. I'm going to change into something softer." She picked up her nightgown and walked to the bathroom, looking back and adding, "And hurry! I can't wait to keep going." Nick smiled and shook his head as he settled under the sheets. Everything in the room reminded him of Denny. A moment later, the bathroom door opened, and she walked back in wearing a beautiful nightgown with a pretty design. She slid under the covers and turned to face him. He turned to face her, too. Shyly, she said, "Last night when you kissed me goodnight, you really changed how I feel. I noticed that, and just so you know, I felt the same way a few times last night." She smiled. "I saw that. Be careful, though. If you keep this up tonight, you might not want me to leave." "Who says I want you to go?" "Then let's have some fun." After that, they didn't say much for 3 hours, but they made plenty of happy sounds as they spent time together. They felt a strong bond and a joy that they didn't expect. Eventually, they fell asleep, wrapped up in each other, resting soundly until late the next morning. He woke up to her gentle presence. "Good morning," he said. "I've never had a better morning, but we should get going. You really know how to spoil a nice moment." "Not really. We're going to have another lovely one tonight. My place or yours?" "You decide. Yours. I want another great breakfast in the morning." and now I have an idea of what to bring." She smiled and added, "The bathroom is yours while I make the coffee. Then I need to get ready for the day. You don't need to do anything special for that. You're a liar, but I like it anyway." With those sweet words hanging in the air, they both blushed. She went to the kitchen while he headed to the bathroom. 20 minutes later, they switched places. He found enough food in the fridge to fix French toast with some fruit. When she came out, dressed for the day, breakfast was ready for her. "I thought I'd take you out for breakfast today," she said, gently touching his cheek. "Your kitchen looked too inviting. I had to use it." He touched her cheek in return. "You're spoiling me." "Okay, I'll take that. Now eat up." After breakfast and cleaning the dishes, they climbed into her truck and confirmed their plans for the evening. Nick wouldn't share what he had planned for after dinner, which made her try various cute ways to get it out of him. Even though he should have guessed, he noticed she was taking a big suitcase and a hanging bag for the day. She stayed quiet about why. After a quick but sweet goodbye in public, they parted ways feeling happy and relaxed. Nick returned home to enjoy a nice day working on his garden shed, while Denny headed west towards Fort Worth, where her day became more exciting than she thought. At the farm show, she easily found the booth of Peterson Equipment Company. As she expected, a few salespeople greeted her with enthusiasm, ready to offer her good deals on new equipment. However, they were less helpful when it came to solving the parts issues she needed to talk about. They introduced her to a strong-willed woman who was the president of the company. After Denny explained her needs, the woman quickly brushed off her concerns, saying they had just reorganized. She told Denny to be patient, promising that the issues would be solved within a month or two. Denny left the booth feeling unsatisfied and eager to reach out to other companies for a solution. This led Denny to the back row of booths, which had smaller, simpler displays, including one called Leroy Johnson Ag Services that Nick had mentioned. The only person there was Leroy Johnson himself. He greeted her kindly and listened to her story. After she shared her worries, he said, "I can see why you are upset. You are in the middle of a tricky change with them. There is not much you can do but wait and see what happens or look for other choices." "I might consider waiting if I had that luxury, but we really need some important equipment now," Denny replied. "Let's start with you. What can you do to help fix these issues?" He smiled and replied evenly, "I can repair your equipment and improve it, but I won't be using factory parts because I can't get those. I can fix some things, but for others, I'll need to make or find parts from different suppliers. This isn't a problem unless you have a warranty or maintenance deal with Peterson. If that's the case, they'll cancel their agreement the moment I touch the equipment." Denny studied him and felt he was a straightforward person. "All right, let's be honest here. I hear that there are problems with Peterson that could affect long-time customers." Leroy smiled and said, "Why don't we sit and talk somewhere more private?" She returned his smile and chose one of the two chairs in the booth while he took the other. Peterson was started by an older man who built a good company. As he aged, things started to slow down. I began there as a repair technician and moved up to service manager. For a time, there were some changes. Then his daughter married a young man, and Peterson let him take charge. He knew some technical things, but wasn't familiar with our products. He didn't run the company directly, but guided it. He came to me and asked about our parts and service. He listened more than he talked. Then he wanted to know what we needed to do well. I was thinking about leaving, so I shared my thoughts with him. We discussed it, and he handled the numbers well. When we finished, he just said, "Do it." He did this with all the product managers, too, which really motivated everyone. "What was this person's name?" Denny asked. "I wonder if I met him once," she said. "You might have," he replied. "But he mostly let us handle the customers. His name was Drake Nicholson. He trusted us, and we helped the company grow from a good equipment maker to a top player in our field. We did well for about 12 years. "What changed?" she asked. "I can't say for sure. There were many rumors. His wife didn't care about the company much. She went to Europe once, and a week later, Drake came in and said he was leaving. When she got back, she was made president of the company, but no one discussed his leaving. I heard they might have divorced, but that's all I know. She was going to run things her way. After that, a lot of people left. I was there for about a year, but I left when she told me to raise our service prices and cut back on what we offered. I didn't agree with that, so I started my own business. How's everything going for you now? She asked. I can't complain. Many of my former service customers came with me, so I'm busy. My only issue is the place I work is too small. I need to hire 2 more people, but I don't have room for them. I'm thinking about moving to be closer to my customers, but I can't find a place I like that I can afford. Rent is high for small businesses like mine. By the way, have you heard from Drake since he left? She asked. Leroy glanced at her carefully before responding. I haven't seen him, and I don't know where he is. But he called me a couple of times to check on me. I don't share that with many people because he wants to be left alone. He did encourage me to keep doing what I'm good at, and that means a lot to me. He sounds like someone worth looking out for, she said. He looked at her more closely and said, the people who worked for him would do anything for him. His ex-wife has sent some people snooping around to find out where he is. None of us know, and even if we did, we wouldn't tell her. The guy across the aisle used to manage the sprayer line. He started his own business, and he's more protective of Drake than I am. She is trying to pressure him to shut down his business because it competes with hers. He's thinking of leaving the area to escape her troubles. Oops, sorry about that. Denny chuckled and said, No problem. I know those kinds of words too. This has been really helpful. Could you come down and check what we have and what we might need? My foreman says we need to get the equipment working right, or we'll have issues when winter hits. While you are here, I'd like to show you a place and see if it would be good for your business. Where is it located and how big is the building? It's about 120 miles east of here. The building has 50,000 square feet and used to be a factory. The factory closed and the new company moved to a different location. The building is still in good shape and can be made smaller if you need. Do you know how much they might rent it for? Denny thought for a moment and then spoke clearly. I'll be honest with you. My father built this building as an investment and rented it to the company. It's paid for and just sitting empty now. When the factory closed, it left a lot of people without jobs, and we are looking for new businesses to fill the space. If you are interested, I can create a rental agreement that works for both of us. That's really kind of you. Wait a second. He stood up and waved to the man sitting nearby. Crutch, come over here for a minute. The man walked over and asked, What's going on, Leroy? Ma'am, this is Mitch Crutchfield, but we just call him Crutch. Crutch, this woman has a 50,000 square foot building about 120 miles east. She wants to find businesses to fill it. She is open to working on the rent and can split the space if needed. Are you interested? Crutch looked at Denny and said, If you are serious, I'd really like to see it. I need more room and want to move out of town. I am serious, and I know you're looking for more space. I have plenty of room available, and there are many skilled people looking for jobs nearby. The 2 men exchanged glances and nodded. Then Crutch asked, When can we check it out? You tell me the day and time, and I'll be ready. Leroy then asked, Sorry, I didn't catch your name. Where is this building? I'm Denise Chambers, and here is my card. Call me when you want to visit. I'm ready. Leroy looked at her card and then exclaimed, Are you part of the Chambers Ranch family? She smiled proudly and replied, Yes, my father started it, but my brother and I run it now since he passed away a few years ago. Denise, I know the equipment you wanted me to look at. I've worked on them before. I can get them all working well for you. Crutch. You don't have to tell me that. I sold several sprayers to your father. He was tough but always fair and honest. I enjoyed working with him. Denise felt happy hearing the respect these 2 men had for her father. The building we are talking about is on the south side of town, just inside the city limits. Crutch said, Leroy, I can already see that this would work for both of us. I visited that building a couple of times when the factory was still operating. They have the workshop I need on one side and their offices on the other. I don't think we could find a better place anywhere at any cost. I'm free on Thursday afternoon. How about you? I can make that work. Miss Chambers, if it's okay with you, I'll come by in the morning to speak with your foreman about the equipment, and then we can meet Crutch after lunch. Denise stood up and smiled. I think we just made all 3 of us very happy today. I'm looking forward to Thursday. Call me if anything changes. They all shook hands, and Denise left, feeling happier than she had in a long time. Now, she looked forward to her evening with Nick. As she drove to her brother's house in Dallas, she thought about everything she learned that morning. Then she realized there were some coincidences that were too clear to ignore. By the time she parked at her brother's house, she had one big question in her mind. Could Nick be the same Drake Nicholson who seemed to connect with all that's happened? She wondered how she could find out without stepping on Nick's toes. Her brother was excited to hear about the possible lease of the building and offered to come on Thursday to talk about it. As the family lawyer, she let him handle all the details. She also mentioned the talks in town about bringing in new businesses and jobs, along with Nick's ideas about helping small businesses instead of chasing bigger ones. Her brother agreed that helping small startups could be better in the long run. They created a plan that would work for them and attract new businesses. Then Denise took a long bath and got ready for her evening with Nick. She arrived at the restaurant feeling bright and polished, ready for a nice evening out. She walked to the bar where Nick was already waiting for her. As she entered, her yellow floral dress caught everyone's eye. She felt happy as her tall, well-dressed friend stood up to greet her with a big smile. My, you know how to dress for a special evening. You look wonderful. Do you think I look all right? Let's just say you're catching everyone's eye, including mine. I'm trying to impress you, and you're looking quite sharp yourself. Thank you, and for you, I have a small surprise. He handed her a lovely corsage of yellow roses that matched her dress perfectly. Beaming, she replied, "It's beautiful. Now you have to pin it on me right here." She playfully nudged him, noticing the attention from those around them. Nick took a moment to pin the corsage on her, doing it with a touch of nervousness that made the moment special. It made people smile and admire her in the bar. "You did a great job. Everyone here wishes they could be you. Well done." "Easy for you to say. Let's take a seat." "Oh, you were close too." He stood behind her chair and helped her sit down. To lighten the mood, Nick asked, "How was your day?" "You, my dear, are a bit of a coward, but a kind one. I had a really interesting day and can't wait to tell you about it. In short, I had some problems at the place I visited, but I found ways to fix them and even discovered 2 new business ideas for our town. It turned out to be a very useful day, and you helped." "What did I do?" Denise looked closely at Nick to see how he reacted as she shared her story. "I spoke with a company called Peterson Equipment. Have you heard of them?" "Yes, they make good equipment." "I think it's better to say they used to make good equipment." He didn't react. "I talked to the president of the company, a woman." No reaction from him. "She told me that they were going through some changes and I should wait a month or 2 until everything was back on track. That seemed a bit strange, right?" Nick's face changed a little before he said, "All companies go through changes and those times can be tricky. But no, that wasn't the best way to talk to a long-time customer." "That's what I thought too. Anyway, I left feeling upset and went to find the person you mentioned, Leroy Johnson. He really could be a good fit for our town." "What did he say?" "I shared my worries about Peterson with him, and he explained some things. It turns out Peterson hired his daughter's husband to run the company years ago. He turned everything around, and people enjoyed working with him. His name was Drake Nicholson, I think he said. Does that ring a bell?" She watched him closely, but only saw a slight flicker of interest. "I think I heard the name, but never met him. Anyway, one day he just walked in and told everyone he was leaving. Then he disappeared. No one knew where he went or why he left. There were stories, but nothing was ever proven." She noticed his thoughtful expression. "After that, they made his daughter the president, and that's when everything started to go downhill. Johnson said she wanted to raise prices and change how they did things, so he left after a year. She could see that his mood darkened, but he didn't say anything more. Leroy mentioned he started his own service company, and many of his old customers began to use him. He said he was doing okay, but needed to grow, as rent for his place was too high." Nick nodded in understanding. Here's a simplified version of the text. "I mentioned we were looking for new businesses in town and that there were places available at good prices. He got really interested and called over another man he called Crutch. I think his full name was Crutchfield. Do you know him?" This time she saw him smile a little, but he replied, "I think I heard of someone by that name." "So, the good news is they are both coming this Thursday to check out a building I told them about. They both match what you were saying. Small businesses that are growing and fit well with the community. Your ideas were just right. I'm happy it all worked out for you. Maybe this is the start of something good for the town. I agree. Nick, would you like to be there and meet them? You could probably talk to them better than I can. She felt she was setting a perfect chance for him. He let her down when he said, I would love to, but I have a meeting in Dallas on Thursday morning about what we talked about. Maybe I can meet them if they come back. She felt let down that her chance had not worked, but still felt certain she was talking to Drake Nicholson. They were called to their table, and their conversation shifted back to their usual fun teasing. They enjoyed a tasty meal of halibut in a dill sauce and shared several glasses of a white wine that Denise had never heard of, and Nick found hard to say. After dessert, she asked, So, what fun plans do you have for the rest of the evening? He didn't answer her question right away. When was the last time you went to a musical? 4 years ago. The high school put on a musical called Kiss Me, Kate. I liked it, even though the story was about a guy who wanted to control a woman. I don't think Kate was just some weak woman. Even Shakespeare called her a shrew in the original story. Whatever. So we are going to a musical. Will it be good? Probably. It's about a nice man who suffers for being kind all his life. Lead the way, then. The theater is waiting for us. 4 hours later, as they walked back to Nick's truck, Denise playfully hit him on the arm. What was that for? You brought me here to get me all teary. Now my makeup is all over. For what it's worth, I have seen Les Miserables 6 times, and it has moved me every time. The story and music really touch my heart. I'm going to make you feel something tonight. Better be ready. Exactly what are we going to do with both trucks here? Easy. We will drive both to the edge of town where I will leave mine for some needed service at our dealer. Then we'll take your truck to your house. You'll have to deal with me until tomorrow, he said with a smile. Deal is not the word I would use, but my goal is to make you happy. If dealing with me is what you want, then that's fine. How sweet of you. You know that's not what I meant. Nick didn't reply. As they walked to his truck, he began to hum Bring Him Home. Denise felt tears welling up in her eyes again. When they reached Nick's house, Denise asked him to bring her suitcase to his bedroom. Then, she told him to pour them each a glass of juice and wait for her. After 10 minutes, she came out, wearing a soft black robe with bright red and gold flowers on it. Nick could do nothing but gaze at her in awe. She chuckled. What's wrong? Lost your voice? He swallowed hard and said, something like that. Do you have anything that doesn't make you look even more amazing than before? Maybe if you see me after I've been working with the cows, you might think differently. I doubt that. Really, I do. Oh, good. I finally have your attention. You know I've had it since we met. It's hard to think about anything else. That's how it should be. Finish your juice like a good boy. I have plans for us. That night felt a lot like the one before, except for one tiny detail. They both decided to share their feelings with each other. Several times. Around 3 in the morning, Denise cuddled up to him and whispered, Nick, I think I'm falling in love with you. He hugged her closer and replied, I've been feeling that way for a little while now. Then they both drifted off to sleep, smiling. In the morning, they enjoyed each other's company before breakfast. Nick didn't take her home until noon on Tuesday since she had an important school board meeting to attend. They spent Tuesday night at her house and went back to Nick's on Wednesday. When they woke up Thursday morning, their feelings were mixed. They were excited about 2 businessmen coming to look at a project, but a bit sad since Nick had to go to Dallas for a meeting, which might keep him there until Friday. Luckily, she could go with him because her truck was being repaired. They shared a sweet moment before he dropped her off in downtown Dallas. Denise put on her professional face as she met Leroy, who was discussing their equipment needs with the foreman. They quickly approved the work. She and Leroy had lunch in town and then met Crutch at the building at 1 o'clock. At 1:30, her phone rang. She stepped away to answer since it was Nick. Hi, how's everything going? She asked. Good news and bad news, he replied. The good news is everything is moving along well. I'm happy about that. The bad news is that I might have to go to St. Louis for the week. I should be back late Saturday night or early Sunday. Honey, this meeting could really change everything. I love you and will miss you a lot, But if this goes well, you will be really happy too. Nick, I love you too and will think about you every minute you're away. Have a great trip and call me when you can. I will. For the next week, they both stayed busy. But as he promised, Nick called every day. He called in the morning to wake her up and at night to say goodnight. Even though she was alone in bed, she felt better knowing he was getting closer to coming home. Finally, Saturday arrived, and she hoped he would be back that night. She was at a meeting when she suddenly felt worried. As she drove through town towards her home, she thought she saw Nick's truck. It really was his, and her heart raced until she saw he was with a young woman. They both looked happy, and her heart fell. Tears filled her eyes as she drove back home. Once home, her sadness turned into frustration. She felt tricked. Her phone rang several times, but she didn't answer when she saw it was Nick. She needed time to think. The next morning, she struggled to make coffee, feeling confused about her feelings. She promised herself that no one was worth this heartache. After some thinking, she decided to talk to Nick. He was expecting her for dinner at 6, but she planned to go over at 3 to clear things up. She got ready and left to drive to his house. With each mile, she thought about what to say. So lost in her thoughts, she didn't notice Nick's truck leaving as she got there. She parked in front of his house, still unsure about what to do. Each step towards the door made her feel more anxious. Finally, she knocked loudly. A moment later, the door opened, revealing the young woman who had been with Nick. It took all her strength to keep calm. The two women shared nervous looks, and then the young woman smiled. "Hi. Nick said you were coming for dinner, but he got a bit nervous and forgot to thaw the steaks. He went to the store to get some more. Come in. We can start getting to know each other before he gets back. By the way, you are even more beautiful than he told me." Denise stepped inside but was very confused and stuttered, Who are you?" The young woman blushed. "Sorry, I'm Emma, Nick's daughter." That brought a wave of relief for Denise. Emma led her to the couch and sat her down before bringing her a glass of wine. "Dad says this is your favorite drink." Denise finally replied, "After last night, I probably shouldn't, but—" She took a sip and made a face. "He told me he had a daughter, but I was expecting maybe an 8 or 10-year-old. I really didn't think you would be— Well, I understand." Emma smiled. "Nick isn't my biological father. My mom had a secret relationship when she was 20, and I was the result. I don't know who my real father is since I have never met him. When my mom married Nick, I was 6, and he adopted me, which I am very grateful for. I can't imagine what my life would have been like without him. My mom often falls in and out of love, but Nick has always been there for me. He tried to protect me from her ups and downs, but I could sense it. No matter what happens, he is and will always be my one and only dad. He has told me a lot about you, and I am so happy that he has found someone who loves him just as much as he loves you." Denise took another sip of wine and talked about the past 24 hours. She said she felt silly for not trusting him more. Emma understood, but reminded her that Nick also had a role in this. He tried to protect the people he cared about by not revealing too much. After a while, the two women were laughing and sharing stories about Nick and some of their own experiences. Emma mentioned how Nick had told her about their playful teasing and friendly arguments, which she enjoyed. Denise replied, "You'll get to see it for yourself when he gets back. I plan to give him a piece of my mind." Emma smiled and said, "If I had the time, I'd sell tickets to that." They both laughed until they heard Nick's truck pull up behind Denise's house. Emma settled back to watch as Denise put on a serious face. Nick came through the door and immediately noticed Emma smiling and Denise looking very serious. He looked back and forth and asked cautiously, "How much trouble am I in?" Denise said, "I came over today to let you know how upset I am about your choices, especially showing up with a younger woman in front of everyone before you came home to me. But, yes, I wanted to make sure you understood how I felt, and then I'd leave to think about it. Oh no, I guess I made a mistake." Denise stood up and walked straight to him, looking him in the eye. "After we are married, you will never keep secrets or surprises from me again. Do you understand?" Before he could answer, she gave him a tight hug. From the love seat, Emma said, "Daddy, you should hug her back. Come on, show some love." Following his daughter's advice, he wrapped his arms around Denise. Soon he felt emotional, and after a moment, he looked at Denise, ready to say something. She gently interrupted, No need to apologize. Come sit with me and share what I need to know. I need to start dinner first. Emma stood up. Daddy, you always told me to take care of the important things first. You sit and chat with Denny. I'll take care of dinner. Nick seemed unsure, but passed the bag to Emma as Denise led him to the couch. This time, she sat on his lap and said, "Why don't you start talking?" He let out a sigh. "There are a few things I can't talk about right now. Emma jumped in. Daddy, if you're thinking about Mom's boyfriends, you should just tell her. I know about them, even if you tried to keep it secret." Really? Yes. I heard when she said she was taking her boyfriend to Europe for a month. You told her you wouldn't be here when she got back. She laughed and said you'd never leave the company or me. I was there when you told Granddad you were leaving. He got upset and said to find someone to buy the company. When she got back, he told her she could manage it until it sold. That's when she got involved with that lawyer, which led to all those stories and the order to keep him away. Denny needs to know everything. Nick was surprised by how much Emma knew. Denise sat in his arms, gently touching his cheek, her eyes filled with understanding. He realized he needed to show her the kindness and strength she wanted. Finally, Nick said, "Emmy, I didn't know you understood all this." "I know. I stayed quiet because I thought you were trying to protect me. Now let's talk about the new business. I think Denise will be just as excited as I am. Go ahead, I can handle dinner just as well as you. Emmy, you will always be my little girl, and I love you. Do you really want to hear more tonight?" "I want to hear everything." Emma laughed and said, "You go, girl." "Okay, it might take some time. I'll give you a quick overview. First, I went to Dallas to see my lawyer about two things. The biggest was about Emma. She turns 18 next month, so it didn't really matter. But there's still a record of the charges against me, and he has been trying to clear that. It turned out the judge was in jail for corruption and admitted he was paid to file the order. So, the new judge said to erase the records. I can't tell you how relieved I am. I worried that if you ever found out, you wouldn't want to be around me." He paused. "I might have been surprised, but I've been learning that you are always honest. Well, except when you're just joking with me. Keep going. The other thing we've been working on is I found someone who wants to buy the company, and we've been negotiating for a year. I've mostly stayed out of the spotlight for this. Anyway, the company in St. Louis just finished the deal. I went there to talk about my return to run it, so it looks like I'll have a job again. We finally worked out everything on Friday. One day, Emmy called and said, 'Come and get me.' I told her I would be there soon and to have her things ready. I tried to call you on Friday night to tell you and all day yesterday, but you didn't pick up. On Friday, I was at a school board meeting, and yesterday I was busy after seeing you with someone else. I really messed up. Just keep talking. I think you're about to tell me you're moving back to Fort Worth or somewhere nearby. One of these days, you need to learn to be patient instead of jumping to conclusions. Let me finish." Emma giggled. "The deal we made is simple. They will keep the Fort Worth office as a showroom and parts center, and I will run their factory. But we need to build a new, bigger factory here. I just have to talk to my lawyer's sister about some land next to the big plant that Leroy and Crutch are moving into. Her name is Denise Chambers. Do you know her?" Denise stood up, looking upset, and said, "Sister, my foot. First, I need to have a serious talk with my brother, and then I might say a few things to you." She paused and turned to Nick, asking seriously, "Nick, this matters to me. How long have you known about me and who I am?" He saw how serious her question was and replied gently, "I didn't know until the day you went to Fort Worth. While you were gone, I figured that if your family owned a big ranch for so long, there must be some information about you somewhere. Did you know that the county newspaper has an online archive and you are mentioned there almost every week? Wow, you really are busy. Before you say it, I realize that you found out I am Drake Nicholson. Your questions were too direct. We planned to meet tonight to share everything, so I decided to wait to tell you. By the way, it was hard not to laugh when you talked about the company. You were really trying to get me to reveal myself. I could give you a hard time for that. I wasn't sure, but there were too many coincidences. So now what should I call you?" "Anything you want. Emmy has always called me Nick, so that's fine. Drake is okay too, although Sir has a certain charm. It's your choice." "That last one isn't going to happen. Emmy, why did you call him Nick?" Now it was Emmy's turn to blush. When we first met, there was a boy at school named Drake who always bothered me. I asked if I could call him Nick to forget that memory. He said I could call him whatever I wanted. Now it's your turn. What's the story with Nisi, Nessa, and Denny? It's simple. My mom wanted me to be Vanessa, but my dad wanted Denise. My full name is Vanessa Denise Chambers. My mom used to call me Nessa when she was with her friends, while my dad called me Denise. When my mom passed away when I was 8, most of my classmates started calling me Denise. I was a bit of a tomboy and got teased sometimes. They began calling me Denny, which I actually liked. But after I hit puberty, I wanted to be more feminine, so I changed it to Denny. My brother's daughter couldn't say Denise, so she calls me Nisi. When I met Nick and he asked my name, I mentioned Nisi. Then one of my mom's old friends called me Nessa in front of him. I kept it that way to keep him curious. Emma laughed and said, "That's funny. Maybe I can come up with some names to confuse the boys at college." Nick jumped in. "Emma is a great name, and about those boys at college, we need to have a talk." "Denny, help me out here." "Nick, I think Emma can think for herself, don't you?" "No, and I probably never will." "You sound a bit like my dad." "Emma, don't listen to him. I will support you. I have my tricks with him." "I bet you do." Nick decided to take control of the conversation before things got out of hand. He looked at Denny and said, "Now about what you said earlier." "What's that, my dear?" "The one where you mentioned after we are married." "Oh, that one. Well, I think that since we both love each other, soon you'll be asking me to marry you, that's all." "I see. At least I have some time to change my mind. By the way, I asked your brother for permission to ask you last week. That sneaky guy. He didn't tell me anything when he was here." "What did he say?" "Well, he laughed for a while, but then he said, 'Yes, please make her your wife.'" Denise said, "We will have a talk when I see him next. What are you going to do about it?" "You are so eager. We have our whole lives." "That's too long. You have less than a day." Nick shook his head. "Let's take it step by step. Right, Emmy?" She smiled and nodded. "Emma Nicholson, may I have your permission to ask this woman to marry me?" Denise chuckled, but Emma put her hands on her hips and said, "I think we need to talk about a few things first." Denise exclaimed, "Emmy, I thought you were on my side." "Oh, he can marry you, but we have some things to clear up." "Like what?" "Well, he has 2 bedrooms, but only 1 bed. Last night I took the bed and he slept on the couch. I'm sure you don't want that. So, he's taking me to a nearby hotel for the night." Nick said, "You are not going to any sketchy place, even for 1 night. You are staying here." Denise replied, "She is not staying alone. We can go to my house. I have 4 bedrooms and 4 beds. She can choose where she wants to stay afterward. By the way, after you find the courage to ask me to marry you, where will we live?" "Well, I really don't want to end a tradition of 5 generations living in that big house. Maybe we can stay there, and Emma can live here while she goes to college." Denise turned to Emma and asked, "Are you going to college nearby? That's great." My mom was disappointed when I told her. She wanted me to go to a fancy school, but I prefer the university close to home. It's only a 30-minute drive and has a really good program for what I want to learn. "What do you want to study?" "After everything I've been through, I want to study psychology so I can understand life better." They all laughed together before sitting down for dinner. After they finished eating, Denise suddenly had a thought. "You mentioned your mom wasn't happy about your college choice. What about you staying here with Nick?" "I forgot to tell you. Last weekend, Grandpa called my mom in and told her he sold the company so she would soon be out of work. That upset her a lot. When she got home, she started making calls. On Thursday, she said we were moving to Europe so she could marry her boyfriend. I told her, 'That's fine. I'm not going. I'm staying here and going to college.' She said, 'Fine. You can live with your dad.' I called Nick on Friday and said, 'Come get me. I'm staying for good.' Just like he promised, he picked me up at noon on Saturday." "That didn't bother you?" Denise asked. "Not at all. I met this guy once. He doesn't seem trustworthy. He says he's Italian and claims he has a house in France, but I doubt it. He looks like he grew up around here, and his last name is Blankenship." Emma didn't get why both Nick and Denise were laughing so hard they were almost crying. When their laughter slowed down, Emma asked what was so funny. Denise smiled and said, "Sweetheart, what goes around comes around." Cold start. Holding the last few sips of my drink, I stared out at the big windows in the hotel lobby. Snowflakes danced lightly outside, falling slowly at first, then swirling quickly in the wind before landing softly on the ground, piling up on the streets and turning them into a cold, slushy mess. Who plans a wedding in Denver in the middle of February? My daughter, of course. Yes, the groom's parents live close by. Yes, it's halfway between my ex-wife's place and mine. And yes, it's exactly 2 years since they met here on Valentine's Day. Sounds romantic now, but let's see how important it is in 15 or 20 years. I finished my drink and shook my head, remembering why I loved living in the South. A bunch of loud voices and laughter got louder behind me. I didn't need to turn around. My ex was leading a group from the rehearsal dinner to the hotel bar with her usual loud and bossy attitude. I glanced their way. Her arm was around the groom, who was looking back at our daughter, Kelly, with a confused look. Kelly just shrugged. The rest of the group followed, 3 pretty bridesmaids, who were Kelly's best friends growing up, and a bunch of excited young groomsmen nearby. The groom's parents walked at the back with the preacher, who I noticed was sneaking looks around. I did not want to join my ex, and I really didn't feel like going out in this weather, so I headed back to my room. A movie channel was showing an old classic with Fred Astaire and Audrey Hepburn. I chuckled at the silly story. What could a lovely young woman like Audrey see in such an old man? It was just 10 o'clock, and I knew tomorrow would be a long day. I had a couple of other things to do that were not part of the wedding, and I wasn't excited about either. I decided it was best to go to bed and get some rest. With nothing else to do, I started my bedtime routine, brushing my teeth, doing some easy yoga, and then working on a Sudoku puzzle to keep my mind busy. Kelly was on my mind. Besides her few visits to Atlanta, I had missed a lot of her growing up. I was proud of her. Despite her mother's influence, she had become a smart and lovely young woman. Her fiancé Brian seemed like a good guy, and I hoped they would have a happy life together, better than what Cece and I had. I barely recognized her bridesmaids. They were her 3 best friends from school, and I hadn't seen any of them in over 7 years. I mostly remembered them as little kids with scraped knees and giggling at sleepovers and teenage dramas. It was hard to believe those little girls were now grown women having fun at the dinner tonight. There was Tara, who had faced a lot in her young life. I heard from Kelly that she got married right after high school, had a baby, and got divorced, all before turning 20. Melissa, or Missy, was always stylish and full of ideas, often getting the others to join her in playful trouble. Kelly had subtly warned me to watch out for Missy's flirty side. Then there was Sophie, the sweetest and smartest of them all, but very shy. As a teenager, she would often look away when talking to people. Even at the rehearsal, she could hardly meet my gaze. I smiled to myself at the thought. If the rumors were true, her thoughts might be focused on someone else. 2. Warming up as. I lay in bed. I couldn't stop thinking about the day and everything that had happened. Maybe it was the cheerful mood of the celebration, or maybe I just felt lonely. Either way, I tried to clear my mind and get some rest. I grabbed the TV remote, hoping to find something to watch to help me relax. The choices looked pretty good. I picked one and leaned back against the pillows, letting the images on the screen take my mind off things. The story moved quickly, and I started to feel more at ease as the plot developed. Why did things like this never happen to me? Soft music played in the background, and I could hear someone speaking firmly. Then, I heard a tapping sound. I hit mute and listened closely. There was someone knocking gently at my door. I quickly turned off the TV and looked for my robe but couldn't find it. I shuffled to the door, pulling on an old pair of sweatpants. When I opened the door, I saw my daughter's maid of honor, Sophie, wearing her favorite Hello Kitty t-shirt. She was barefoot, with her long, dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. I felt a warm rush of admiration for her youthful spirit. She peeked around me, glancing into the room while avoiding my look, and asked, "Are you, busy, Mr. Lyman?" "No, Sophie," I began. But she had already stepped in and sat down on the hotel sofa. I closed the door and sat on the edge of the bed, curious about her unexpected late-night visit. "Is everything okay, Sophie? Is the wedding still on?" She took a moment to think. I could almost hear her gathering her thoughts. Finally, she shrugged, still not looking at me. "Yeah, I think so. The snow might cause some issues." Her eyes wandered around the room, as if she were trying not to meet my gaze. To ease the awkwardness, I asked, "So, Sophie, what's going on? It's been a while since we talked. How's everything in your life?" Not that we had talked much before. She was always the quiet one and didn't say much to me. I briefly thought about her mother, but pushed that aside. "Yeah, I'm okay, I guess," she replied, twirling her fingers nervously. "Are you done with school now?" There was a long pause. "No, not yet. I'll start a PhD program this fall," she said, nervously biting her lip. "Wow," I said, surprised. I knew she was smart, but her shyness often hid that. "So I'll be calling you Dr. Sophie soon?" She smiled and laughed softly, still looking at the floor. "No, Mr. Lyman. Please, just call me Chuck," I said. "You've become a wonderful young woman." Sophie sat up straighter and looked at me for a brief moment, her smile brightening her face. "Okay, Chuck. But, I won't really be a doctor in the medical way, but I'll have a doctorate." "People call me doctor, but—" She stopped suddenly and rolled her eyes. "I feel so silly." I laughed, and her cheeks turned red. "It's okay, Sophie. You sound excited, not silly." "So what will you get your doctorate in?" I asked. "Biomedical engineering," she replied. "Wow, biomed. That's great, Sophie. You've always been the smartest among Kelly's friends." Her chest lifted a little, showing her pride as she smiled at the compliment. "Where are you thinking of going? MIT?" I wondered. Sophie laughed and shook her head. I didn't want to go there. Too nerdy. She paused, taking a deep breath. "I could stay close to home at Stanford," she said, "and I've been accepted at Duke." She chewed her lower lip for a moment. "Or I could go to Georgia Tech." Her eyes lit up with excitement as she looked at me. "You know I live in Atlanta now," I started to say. Sophie tried to hide a smile, looking at the floor. She nodded and whispered, "Yeah, I know. And it would be great to have you here. Atlanta is pretty nice. It's not LA, but it has its own charm. Have you ever been—" She shook her head, still looking down. "Not yet." I suggested, "You should come visit. You could stay with me if you want." Her smile returned. "And I'll show you around. We'd have a great time." I didn't mention the lively community in Atlanta. I didn't want to assume anything. A long silence followed as she thought about it. I knew to let her take her time. "What about, your wife or girlfriend? Shouldn't you ask her?" she asked. "I haven't remarried, Sophie. I don't have anyone special right now. I guess I never really moved on from Cece," I explained. Sophie looked straight at me like she hadn't in years. "Do you still love her?" I chuckled lightly. No, Sophie, that's in the past." She shifted to sit at the edge of the bed, just a few inches away from me. Her fingers fiddled together nervously. "What do you mean? You never got over her?" she asked. I took a moment to think. I wasn't sure how much she knew about my divorce. "That's a tough question, Sophie. It hurt a lot," I admitted. After a pause, I continued. "I think she left me with trust issues. Since then, I haven't found anyone I could really trust." Her eyebrows raised as she nodded, understanding my feelings. I hadn't thought about it much before, but saying it out loud brought up some feelings I didn't expect. There was a quiet moment between us. Finally, I asked, "So, what brought you here tonight, Sophie?" "You seem like you want to talk about something," I said gently. Her lower lip tucked in between her teeth again. The wheels in her mind were turning quickly. Click, click, click. In a soft voice, she said, "I'm sorry, Mr. Chuck. Wow, that will take some time to get used to," she giggled. I gave her an encouraging smile. When I placed my hand over her fidgeting fingers, she gasped softly, and her deep brown eyes met mine with a strong gaze. It felt important, but I couldn't tell what was going on in her mind. "I'm not usually like this, Chuck," she said. "Sometimes my thoughts get all jumbled like I can't keep up with them. It happens when I'm around certain people." She looked down at the floor. "I'm sorry if I seem confused." "I've never thought you were confused, Sophie," I replied. I gently stroked her cheek, and she leaned into my touch, closing her eyes. So she felt shy only around certain people. Did I make her feel that way? Was it because of something I did? No, that was just my mind being hard on me. Sophie had been like this for a long time. She still hadn't told me why she was here. Maybe she wanted to talk about Kelly and the wedding plans, or maybe there was something else she needed to share. Perhaps my ex-wife? I recalled my ex-wife, Cece, with the groom, and how she could be after a few drinks. I tried to reassure Sophie. Please don't hesitate to talk to me about anything. I promise I'll help if I can, and we can keep it just between us, okay? She lifted her gaze again, her look serious and searching, as if looking for some unspoken message. You know, Sophie, I said, sometimes it's better if we don't overthink things. Let it all out, and then we can figure it out together. The corners of her lips turned up slightly, and she nodded. Almost to herself, she said softly, "Yeah, you're right." Then she moved closer, wrapping her arms around my neck. Her look was sincere, and I could feel her desire for connection. A sudden memory popped into my head. A shy 6-year-old with dark hair was running inside, crying because she had lost a baby tooth on our swing set. I pulled back from Sophie and sat up, trying to shake off the memory. "What's wrong?" she asked, concern flooding her eyes. "Oh no, you look upset. I'm sorry, Chuck. I didn't—" "No, Sophie," I said, shaking my head as I took her hand. I chuckled softly. "I'm not upset. I'm just— Have you been drinking, Sophie?" "Just a little. A couple of glasses of wine with dinner." Then she realized. "Oh, you think I'm acting this way because—" "Why are you acting this way?" "Don't you know?" she asked. "Know what?" Bang, 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 someone was knocking on my door. I jumped off the bed and hurried to the door. My first thought was that it might be Sophie's dad. I shouted through the door, "Who is it?" A familiar voice answered gently, "It's me, let me in." "Just a minute. I'm not dressed." "I've seen it all before," she said playfully. "Wait a second," I called out. I looked around the room for a spot to hide and directed Sophie to the armoire. She slipped inside quietly and shut the door behind her. I opened the door just a bit. My ex-wife was in a soft white nightgown, but still wearing her fancy diamond earrings and necklace from dinner, the ones her rich new husband had bought her. "What do you want, Cece?" "Hey, Chuck, can I come in? Are you alone?" She looked around me. "Yes, I'm alone, but now is not a good time." To be honest, it never felt like a good time with Cece, especially like this. "I won't stay long, unless—" She stepped inside and looked around the room. I could smell the alcohol on her breath. That was not a good sign. "You've been drinking," I said. "Yes," she said quietly, stepping closer. "What do you want, Cece?" I asked again, standing firm with my arms crossed. "I thought we could celebrate our daughter's wedding, you know, just like old times." Of course. When she drank, it always led to this. "What about Mark, your husband?" "Oh, he's boring. He went back to the room to sleep." "Cece," I said firmly, "I'm not going to do anything that could harm your marriage. You had your fun too, remember? Who was it that was unfaithful? Did Sophie know about that?" Before I could stop myself, I glanced at the closet. Luckily, Cece didn't see me. "It was just once, Cece," I said tiredly. "And who was the first to break our vows? I'm not going down that road with you again." "Don't worry. This is just between us," she said with a smile as her robe slipped a little off her shoulders. My heart raced as she stepped closer, her eyes on mine. Memories of our better times came rushing back. Cece moved near, her voice gentle. "Remember our honeymoon?" She lightly touched my arm. I took a step back to gather my thoughts. "No, Cece, this isn't happening. Not now, not ever." She paused and looked at me for a moment before sighing. "You don't know what you're missing, Chuck." "You're mistaken, Cece. I know exactly what I'm missing." I opened the door wider for her. She picked up her robe and left, leaving me alone to think. I closed the door and leaned against it, taking a deep breath. When I opened the closet, I was surprised to see Sophie there, her face red. Sorry you had to see that," I said. "It's okay. I wasn't bothered," she replied with a smile. She stood up and looked at me, her face showing curiosity and a hint of playfulness. "I've never seen anything like that before," she said with a smile. That was a surprise. Sophie gave me a teasing look and lightly flicked her fingers at me before skipping over to the bed and jumping onto it. She spotted the TV remote and picked it up with a cheeky grin. "Were you watching something when I came in?" she asked in a cheerful voice. Before I could get to her, she turned on the TV. I rushed to stop her, and we ended up playfully tugging back and forth for the remote. When I finally got it, I quickly turned the TV off. "Oh," Sophie pouted as she sank back onto the pillows. She looked at me with a playful smile. "That was fun." I stared at her, a little lost for words, not sure how to reply. "I was just trying to relax," I finally said, shaking my head while smiling. She grinned back. "That's fine. I was just curious." "Sophie," I said gently but firmly. "Really, Chuck, can I ask you something?" I paused. "Yeah, I guess so, but I can't promise I'll answer. What Mrs. Lyman was talking about, was that about my mom?" I let out a sigh, feeling a bit guilty. "Yeah, I'm really sorry, Sophie. It happened just once, and I regretted it right away." "What happened?" she asked softly. "Our marriage was having problems for a while. I knew Cece had cheated, and I made a mistake. Your mom and I were alone together, and things just happened. It wasn't her fault. Somehow, Cece found out almost right away. But it wasn't just you and your wife that got caught in the crossfire," Sophie continued, her voice barely above a whisper. "My parents, they still haven't fully recovered from it all. The tension, the secrets, it lingers." I nodded, feeling the weight of her words. "I know, and that kills me. I wish I could go back and change everything. I was a fool, blinded by my own issues. I never wanted to hurt anyone, especially not your family." Sophie looked up at me, her eyes glistening. "I get that. Relationships can get so complicated, and sometimes people don't see how their actions affect others until it's too late." She took a deep breath, steadying herself. "I realized that with my own family, too. We had our share of struggles, but we always tried to communicate and work things out. I wish someone had told you that sooner." "I guess I thought I could handle things on my own," I admitted. "But it only made everything worse." I closed my eyes, the memories flooding back. Arguments, tears, the rift that tore Cece and me apart. "I never wanted to make you feel like you had to choose sides, especially since you're still so young." "You didn't," Sophie reassured me, squeezing my hand. "But it did change how I see relationships. I want to be different, to communicate better, to not let things fester." "You will be different," I said confidently. "You're one of the most caring people I know, Sophie, and you deserve to have healthy relationships in your life." For a moment, we sat there in silence, both lost in our thoughts. I wondered how this conversation would affect her going forward, and if I could ever truly make amends for the past. "You promise me something?" she finally said, breaking the quiet. "Anything," I responded, genuinely curious. "Promise me you won't let these things define you. I mean, it's okay to mess up. We all do. But don't let the guilt of it all hold you back from being happy again." I chuckled softly, surprised. Who knew I was getting life advice from my best friend's kid? She smiled sadly, the weight of our shared history evident in her expression. "I'm just being honest. You mean a lot to this family, Chuck, even with all the mess." "Thank you, Sophie. Honestly, you're wiser than most adults I know," I said, feeling a mixture of pride and sadness. "I want you to remind me of this conversation if I ever lose sight of it again." She chuckled, a glint of mischief in her eyes. "Deal, but only if you promise to stay in touch, and not just when you want to apologize." "Okay, I promise. I'd like to be part of your life moving forward if you'll have me." As we sat there, hands still joined, I felt hope surge within me. Maybe this wasn't just a conversation about the past. Perhaps it was the beginning of rebuilding the bridges I thought were lost forever. I still didn't know what to say. "I really messed up," I added, moving forward. Sophie stepped a little closer, and I noticed how serious she looked. "What's wrong?" she asked, sensing I was unsure. I don't know if I can do this, Sophie. I can't help but see you as the little girl playing in the backyard." She looked down, biting her lip. After a moment, she met my gaze. "Chuck, I'm not that little girl anymore. I'm almost 24. I have a master's degree from Stanford. I don't think I know everything, but I know what I want. I still want the same thing I wanted when I came in. I'm not drunk. The age difference doesn't matter. And what happened before is in the past. If you want me to go, just say so and I'll leave without a word." I gently put my hand on her shoulder to show I cared. "Sophie, it's not about you. I just have a lot to think about right now." She looked at me with understanding. "I get it, Chuck. Let's just take it slow, okay? Our kiss felt more intense. Sophie leaned back on the pillows, her eyes shining with excitement and a hint of nervousness. I could see the warmth in her eyes, a quiet agreement that we were both stepping into something special. I gently brushed her hair away from her face, the simple touch filled with care. She smiled softly, looking happy, and I could feel our connection growing. Her hand rested on my chest, feeling the steady beat of my heart. We stayed close, enjoying the moment, knowing we didn't need to say much. There was a calm respect between us, letting our actions show how we felt. As we sat there, the warmth of the moment wrapped around us, creating a feeling of peace and understanding. There was no rush, just a quiet appreciation for where we were. We both knew this connection was special, something that would stay with us. We remained like this, holding on to the feeling that brought us together. As time passed, our bond only grew stronger. It was a simple understanding that we were on the same path, and nothing else mattered. In her excitement, Sophie shared her feelings with enthusiasm. I focused on her happiness, moving with her carefully. She became more animated, and I could see her joy. Eventually, she calmed, taking a deep breath before letting out a soft sound of feeling, simmering. She relaxed back on the bed, catching her breath. "I'm cold," she said. I lay beside her, pulling the covers over us as she snuggled against me. I held her close. "That was amazing, Chuck," she whispered softly. "I've never felt anything like that before." I smiled, happy with the connection we had made. "No," she whispered, her voice shaky, but I leaned in to comfort her. Sophie shifted, looking up at me with a strong look on her face. Her voice was soft but firm as she said, "Please, Chuck." I moved closer, feeling the strong connection we had. Her hands held tightly onto my arms as we shared a moment filled with feeling. Her hair lay on the pillow, framing her face while she looked at me with various emotions. She softly said, "Stay with me." A warm feeling spread through me. In that moment, Sophie and I were close, and nothing else mattered. I moved gently, responding to her quiet call as the outside world faded away. We held each other tight, our fingers interlocked. She whispered that she wanted me to stay, and I buried my face in the curve of her neck, feeling the rhythm of her breathing. Sophie wrapped her arms around me, speaking sweet words, her breath warm against me. I was taken by the strong emotions, feeling every part of her. As we lay there, the world grew quiet, and we found comfort in simply being together. Sophie snuggled in closer, saying, "I love you, Chuck," her voice sincere. I felt many emotions, and for a moment everything felt still. We lay there close, wrapped in our bond, the sheets around us like a warm blanket. Then I noticed Sophie sniffle softly. "Sophie?" I asked gently, sensing something was wrong. "Are you okay?" She moved closer, placing a soft kiss on my chest. "I'm fine, Chuck," she said softly, though her voice showed she felt a bit vulnerable. "Nothing at all." With my finger I lifted her chin. Tears were on her cheeks, but she was smiling. "I'm so happy," she said. "It's perfect." We hugged tightly. A blue mark on her shoulder caught my eye. I touched it gently and apologized. "Don't worry about it," she said softly. "I think it's interesting. Just don't mind if I joke about it sometimes," she added playfully. Excitement filled me, thinking about all the moments we might share. Suddenly, Sophie shivered and her eyes grew wide. "Ooh," she said, grinning. "It tickles." We both laughed. She playfully brought a pink finger out from under the covers, thought for a moment, then made a funny face. "Not what I expected," she said. I laughed in agreement. "You've tried it?" she asked, curious. "Yes, from my own experiences," I replied. "And from someone else's long ago." "Really?" she asked, nodding with interest. "Cool?" She playfully brought out another bit from under the sheets, tasted it, and nodded again. "Yeah, I think I could get used to this." With that, she got out of bed and said, "I want to take a shower." "Do you want some help?" I asked, hoping for more fun under the warm water. "Not this time," she replied. "I'd like some time alone, if that's okay. Maybe next time." "Of course." I watched her walk away, admiring her confidence. I couldn't help but admire her. As I listened to the shower, I lay back and thought about my new friend. I was starting to see Sophie as a woman, not just as little girl Sophie, Kelly's childhood friend. What would Kelly say if she ever found out? I chuckled quietly, shaking my head. She would find out eventually. Then what? I enjoyed my new friendship, but didn't want to think about how this might change my relationship with my daughter. Maybe after the wedding. Knock, knock, knock. Another knock on the door. Who was visiting me at this hour? I glanced at the clock. 12:22 a.m. I threw on my sweatpants and went to answer the door. Who is it? I asked, a bit gruffly. It's Kelly, Daddy. Oh, no. Her voice sounded different. A father's instinct told me she was upset. Double oh no! Just a minute, sweetheart, I called. I'm not ready yet. Okay. She sniffled outside. I peeked into the steamy bathroom, unable to see clearly through the fogged glass of the shower. I could tell she was standing there, hiding her face in her hands. The way her shoulders shook showed me she was upset. Sophie? I called softly, making sure Kelly wouldn't hear. She jumped in surprise. Yeah? She replied, her voice shaky. Kelly's here, and I'm going to let her in. Why don't you stay in there? I'll let you know when she leaves. Oh, okay, she said, sniffling. Is everything okay? Are you all right, Sophie? Yeah. Just having a good cry. Just some feelings. I'm fine. Sniff. Thanks for asking, Chuck. You're really sweet. All right, I responded, then added, Hey, Sophie, you are a wonderful person, and I don't just mean your looks. You've surprised me in a good way. I never thought tonight would be like this. There was silence. I imagined she was thinking deeply. Click, click, click. You didn't know? She asked, sounding surprised. Know what? Knock, knock, knock. Daddy? Gotta go, I said quickly. We'll talk when Kelly leaves. When I opened the door, my daughter rushed in with tears in her eyes. She was still wearing her dress from the rehearsal dinner, but her face was a mess, with tears and smeared makeup. She wrapped her arms around me and cried into my chest, Daddy! I can't do it! I can't marry him! Suddenly she pulled back, her eyes catching the sound of the shower running. You have someone with you, she said, mixing a sorry look with a bit of blame. I nodded. Is it someone I know? Do you really want to hear it? She made a silent guess. Mom? I chuckled and shook my head. My daughter rolled her eyes and let out a relieved breath. Kelly said, She's up to her usual tricks. She was looking for fun tonight. Yeah, she stopped by earlier but didn't stay long. The shower stopped. Kelly glared at the bathroom door with expectation. She won't come out until you leave, I assured her. I took her hand and led her to the couch. Come sit and tell me what's going on with you and the guy from Silicon Valley. Guy? More like a fool, she grumbled. What happened? A guy came into the bar and he couldn't stop staring at her. I nudged him and he looked away for a second, but then he was staring again. Seriously, the night before his wedding, with me right next to him, the look in his eyes made me think he was going to invite her over. So what did you do? I asked calmly. Well, first I spun him around and kissed him. I made sure she could see. I nodded. Next thing I know, he was sneaking looks at her again. I could tell he was trying to hide it, but it was obvious. And then what happened? I pushed him away and stormed out. Tears filled her eyes, and she dropped her face in her hands, crying, Aing, car and driver. I put my arm around my daughter and patted her back until she calmed down a bit. Through her tears, she said, Missy says I should give him the ring back. Missy's just jealous, I replied. At least, that's what my favorite daughter tells me. She didn't respond to the joke, her shoulders slumping. Yeah, you're right. But what should I do, Daddy? She asked, desperate. I think it's time we talked about men, I said. Daddy, she frowned, wiping her tears. Isn't it a little late for a talk about relationships? This is a different kind of talk, I explained. I'd call it everything you never wanted to know about men. She laughed softly, sniffling. That's hopeless, Daddy. If I live to be 1,000, I'll never understand men. We're pretty simple, actually. You already know the first two facts. Some men can be thoughtless and tricky. She laughed out loud. I held her hand and turned serious. Kelly, I want you to know that I love you, and I only want you to be happy. Cautiously, she responded, Yeah, Daddy, I know that. Can we pretend that I'm not your dad for a little while? Let me be just another guy who can be honest with you. Is that okay? Still unsure, she answered, yeah, I guess so. All right, I said. First, two simple facts about men. Many of us notice almost every woman we see, and we have certain dreams. Shocked, her eyes widened, and her mouth fell open. Daddy! Her lips curved up as she tried not to smile. I'm not your daddy. Remember, sweetie? This is just the truth. Now, do you want to hear the harder truth? I'm not sure. Here it is anyway. You're not going to change much about us. You might think you can, and we might seem polite in front of you, but our minds often wander. Daddy! She shouted again, giggling. I heard a little laugh from behind the bathroom door. Kelly turned her head and looked at me with curiosity. Kelly, I said firmly, trying to get her attention back. I'm not your daddy, and this is the honest truth, whether you like it or not. Tomorrow, you're going to stand in front of Brian and share your feelings. Maybe, she replied, crossing her arms tightly. There's no maybe. No matter how you feel now, you will do it. I know you care for him, and I can see how he looks at you. He will try to be what you want, but he is still a man. When you make that promise, he will think of you as someone very special in his life. Your heart, your spirit, your time, everything, it all belongs to him now. Kelly opened her mouth to argue, but I raised my hand. Hold on, Kelly. We'll get to the main point soon. This is what is usually expected. After the wedding, you won't be Miss Kelly Lyman anymore. You will be Mrs. Brian Kirk. Do you understand? Kelly Lyman will be part of the past. When you marry him, you will give your life to him completely, and it's important to know your role. Forget about equality for now. From his point of view, you will be devoted to him. You will belong to him in every way. Daddy, she frowned. I didn't know you thought this way. I chuckled softly. That's a common view. Whether we like it or not, that's how many see relationships. He might never say this because he expects a reaction like yours. I can't change how things have been for a long time. Kelly sat back, arms crossed. What if I don't want to do that? Then your marriage might face problems right from the start. Neither of you will be happy. Trust me, I've seen it happen. Her eyes dimmed with worry. For the first time, she began to understand what I meant. So am I supposed to be unhappy just to meet my husband's needs? She asked, feeling let down. No. Knowing what he wants can help you understand him better. She thought for a moment, and a small smile appeared. How? What do you mean? It's all about understanding these kinds of relationships. Does that help? She still looked unsure, shaking her head and shrugging. It sounds like he has all the power. Not really. Let's think about this. At the core of a man is often his ego. That ego wants approval and happiness. It's all about attraction. A lot of what men do is tied to it. Wanting to connect is very important to us, but relationships need a good balance. This is where you play a big role. Think of men like different kinds of cars. Some are strong, some are quick, and others are dependable but low-key. Kelly laughed from the bathroom, and I could see her eyes light up with interest. She said, well, Brian is definitely a... I quickly raised my hand. I really don't want to know. We both laughed together. I looked at her closely and asked, so, if we are the cars, who's driving? Suddenly, she understood. Oh, you should take charge often, I told her. Often? That car needs attention a few times each week. Remember, that's what brings it to life. Don't ignore it. Try different ways to connect. Usually, your rides will be the same regular trips around familiar places. Every now and then, you might want to speed up a bit and let it enjoy the drive. It might appreciate that. But be careful. You don't want to go too fast or get into trouble. Kelly's daughter giggled. I went on. Long drives can be fun, especially when you're checking out new spots. Take it easy on a quiet road. Give the car a good wash. Enjoy the ride, but always think about how you treat it. My daughter laughed too, then looked toward the bathroom, curious. But whatever you do, don't hit the brakes too hard or switch gears too quickly, I warned. It's really important to keep control and not push too hard. You can slow down, take it easy, or even take a break when you need to, but always remember that you have a goal. If you're careful, you can handle any situation well. I paused so she could take in what I said. Then she asked, you said men have their own ideas about women they see. What should I do about that? You should notice it and understand what they find interesting. Watch and adapt, but always be yourself. She looked uncertain, doubt showing on her face. Okay, tell me about the woman you saw tonight. What did you think of her? Her face showed some frustration as she tried to remember. She described how the woman looked, including her clothes and overall style. Stop, I said gently. Think about what caught Brian's eye. Her face changed, surprised by my question. Was she by herself? I asked. Yes, wait, no, she was with another woman. That's something he probably noticed. Being in a group can say a lot. Now, did she have a ring? She thought for a moment. I'm not sure, but I don't think so. That's another detail he might have picked up on. Now, what do you think about her looks? Kelly looked at me, not quite believing my question. You'll start to notice this stuff, Kelly, I encouraged her. She paused, thinking about what I said. It's not about changing who you are, I explained. It's about knowing what makes someone interesting and using that to your advantage. She wouldn't say it out loud, but the way her eyes lit up when she saw you, the way she stumbled over her words when you were nearby. What do you mean, when I was around? Is she always like that? No, Sophie is smart, but when you're close, she gets nervous. She was chosen to give a speech at graduation, but turned it down because she was worried she would get too scared to talk in front of you. Really? My mind was racing. Wait, you knew how she felt? Everyone knew. Well, everyone but you, Dad. I was shocked. If my daughter was right, Sophie had been waiting for me. No other guys, just women, including my own daughter, it seemed. I felt awkward about my feelings for Sophie. She was beautiful and charming, and being with her felt special. I could easily begin to love her. But she was so young, and I was her father's age and divorced. Her life was just starting while I felt like I had faced many letdowns. Looking at my daughter, I wondered how I would feel if a friend of mine was in this kind of situation. How would Sophie's dad react if he found out? First her mother and now her. What kind of person was I? I'd be lucky if he didn't confront me. Does everyone know? I asked Kelly quietly. Your friends? Her family? Cece? Kelly nodded. I think it was mentioned in the paper once, she said with a smirk. But I thought she liked women. Didn't she have boyfriends? The blush on my daughter's cheeks and her downcast look told me a lot. I realized I only knew part of the story. There might be more to it than I expected. I pulled my daughter into the hallway. How close are you to Sophie? I asked quietly. With a cheeky smile, she said, Do you want the details, Dad? I quickly replied, No, do you know if she's seeing anyone? I don't want to cause any issues. Is there someone else in her life? Kelly paused, choosing her words carefully. There was someone a few years ago, she said softly, looking down at the floor. She really cared about Sophie. Then she looked up and tried to smile, her eyes shining. Her voice was quiet when she added, But don't worry about it, Dad. It's over now. She realized that there was only one person Sophie would ever really care about. I pulled my daughter close and held her tight. She hugged me back, sniffling. What a strange night this was turning out to be. My daughter pulled away and wiped her eyes with her arm. Dad, why do you want to know? Is everything okay? I'm not sure, Kelly. Everything is happening so fast. Her voice got softer and she bit her lower lip nervously. You like her, don't you? I stood there unable to respond. She smiled and nodded like she already knew. Yeah, you do. She stood on her toes and gave me a quick kiss on the cheek. Good, she said, sounding sure of herself. Are you okay with me and Sophie? Just make her happy, Dad. That's all I want. Don't hold back. Go for it. Promise me. I don't know if I can, Kelly. I'm still trying to figure everything out. She looked at me seriously. If you're going to hurt her, just do it fast. Don't drag things out like some guys do. If this goes wrong, you'll have to deal with me, Dad. Okay, sweetie. I smiled and kissed her forehead. Now I think you need to find that confidence inside you. She grinned and hugged me again. Thanks, Dad, for everything. She kissed my cheek and headed down the hall. I watched, a little dazed, as she went into her room. Phew, bad shower timing. When I stepped back into the room, there was a soft knock on the bathroom door. I opened it and Sophie came out wrapped in a towel, her skin still slightly pink. She hugged me. I'm sorry for taking so long, I said. It's okay. I liked listening to everything. I kept myself busy. Busy? She brushed her wet fingers lightly across my lips. I felt the sweetness from them. I might need another shower, she joked, sitting cross-legged on the bed. I joined her. I guess it didn't matter when you came out of the bath. She figured it out. I pointed to the t-shirt. That's fine. Our dresses don't have sleeves. She would have found out tomorrow anyway. She turned her head to look at a mark on her shoulder. Oh, I'm sorry, I said. It's okay. I'm actually a little proud of it. She looked worried and asked, I heard some whispering. Was she okay with everything? I nodded. Yeah, she has other things on her mind right now. What you did for Kelly was so nice, Sophie said. There was a short pause as she gathered her thoughts. I remembered what my daughter had told me. Sophie only acted this way around me. Did she really have feelings for me that went back over 10 years? Was I the only one she had ever cared for all this time? The thought made me feel light and excited. Finally, she spoke. Was everything you told her true? Is that really how men think? Most of us, yes. Another moment passed. I turned off the TV. I felt a bit sad, but I was polite enough not to wake her up. It had been a wonderful night, and the clock showed 2:30. We had a busy day ahead of us. Also, if Kelly was right, and I believed she was, this wouldn't be the last time we enjoyed being together. I nestled in behind Sophie, pulled the blanket over us, and turned off the light. 3. Wedding Day. The sound of a door closing woke me. I was alone, and it was still dark. The clock read 6:15. In just a few seconds, happy memories from the night before filled my mind. I felt the spot on the pillow where Sophie's head had been. It was still warm. I smiled. Sophie had a lot to get ready for the wedding, with her breakfast, hair, and nail appointments all scheduled early. I would see her later. I closed my eyes again. When I woke up again, it was nearly 10 a.m. The wedding was at 2. I jumped out of bed and got dressed. The TV announced that a big snowstorm had shut down the city. It was supposed to get warmer during the day, but more snow was expected that night. The airport would be closed for a few days. So much for returning to Atlanta by Monday. I found Brian in the lobby on the phone trying hard to sort things out. Is she okay? Yeah, I called them. They're stuck at the airport. I don't know, Sophie. Maybe we can get someone to bring the string quartet to a church if we can find one. She's what? Tell her I said don't cry, and I love her. That's all that matters. I know you did. Hey, Mr. Lyman's here. Let me speak to him, and I'll get back to you. Okay, I will. Bye. He hung up and turned to me. Sophie said to tell you hi. That's it? Just a hi? I learned what was going on. His parents decided to stay at the hotel instead of heading back home, and the preacher's car was also stuck, so he came back to the hotel too. 2 big problems solved. The church was 3 miles away, and there was no way everyone would get there safely and back for the reception. The hotel manager told Brian that only a few cooks and waitstaff could make it. Brian was looking for a nearby church we could use, but most had become shelters for people needing help in the bad weather. The sunlight bouncing off the snow brightened the fancy 3-story lobby. The tall, curved windows made me think of a grand pipe organ. In a few hours, the sun would be coming from... I quickly did some math in my head and smiled. Come with me, I said to Brian. I shared my idea with him and the hotel manager. It was going to cost me, but this was for my only daughter. Of course I would do it. Brian called Sophie to let her know that Kelly was feeling down, but Sophie agreed to join in and help her out. After that, he started texting and calling everyone who might be able to come to share the news about the changes. The next time I saw Sophie was just before the ceremony in a small meeting room that also served as the bridal room. She looked beautiful, just like all the bridesmaids. Sophie's lovely neck and shoulders were highlighted by her sleek wine-colored dress. Her lips were bright red, matching the other girls, and they all wore shiny earrings and simple necklaces. They had done their own nails and styled their hair, each sporting a different braid. Sophie's braid was a French braid that Kelly had made for her, giving her round face a sweet and innocent look. There was only a little bit of makeup covering the mark on Sophie's skin from the night before. I guessed she had used some concealer. I also noticed that the dresses the girls wore didn't show any lines, which made me think they might have been wearing special slips underneath. Kelly looked lovely in her cream-colored gown with lace, which looked great next to the satin bridesmaid dresses. Sophie kept adjusting the veil and the long train of Kelly's dress, making sure everything was perfect, and she seemed very focused. Kelly looked a bit nervous and kept glancing at me, and I smiled back at her. Sophie kept talking to Kelly, offering her comfort and support. At one moment, I looked up just in time to see Sophie and Kelly share a quick, friendly hug. It made me feel warm inside and happy for her. I stood to the side, letting the bridesmaids help Kelly get ready. I was surprised at how slim Missy looked. Tara, who was fuller-figured, came over to me and we hugged. It felt nice to hold her, but it didn't compare to being with Sophie. "Mr. Lyman," Tara said, "will you be at breakfast tomorrow morning, or do you have other plans?" She seemed curious about my schedule. I smiled and answered, "Yes, Tara, I'm planning to be there. I think everyone will be around for a while." "Good," she replied. "Kelly and Sophie told me I should talk to you." "About what?" I asked, my interest piqued. "They didn't say exactly. They mentioned you might know something about a car and a driver." I chuckled. "Sure, Tara. Let's sit down tomorrow and have a good talk." "Okay, great," she said with a smile. Then she surprised me by giving me a quick kiss on the cheek. She playfully wiped her lipstick off my lips and gave me a teasing smile, saying, "Thank you for the great idea, Mr. Lyman. It's very clever." "What do you mean?" I asked, confused. "What idea?" "The undergarments," she said playfully, as if I should know what she meant. When she saw my puzzled face, she whispered excitedly, "We're not wearing any." I looked at the group, my mouth open in surprise. "None of you?" I asked Tara. "Not at all," she responded with a cheeky smile that showed her cute dimples. "With these tight dresses, we had to get ready. You know how it goes. It feels so different." A wave of embarrassment washed over me. That was the last thing I wanted to think about while walking my daughter down the aisle. We heard the first notes of music. The hotel had brought in a piano and hired a parking valet who played jazz. Everyone lined up. Sophie still hadn't really noticed me. Old worries came rushing back. Had she been using me? Was Kelly wrong about her feelings for me? What was last night all about? Kelly was on my arm. There was no other word for her but beautiful. "Is everything okay?" I asked. She nodded. "Thanks for everything, Dad. I know that getting married in a hotel lobby isn't your dream wedding, but we did our best." She shrugged. "It'll be a story to tell the kids." My jaw dropped. "You don't mean, are you?" She grinned. "No, Dad, not yet. But we agreed it won't be long." Then she lowered her voice. "What about you and—" She nodded toward Sophie, waiting to walk in front of us. "Am I getting a little brother or sister soon?" The thought hadn't even crossed my mind. I don't know, Kelly. Don't get your hopes up. I'm not sure if she wants to take it further." "Oh, I'm sure," she winked, nodding knowingly. I wasn't so sure, but that was a talk for another day. "How did your call with Brian go last night?" I asked. Standing there in her fancy wedding dress, holding her bouquet, my lovely daughter raised her fist in the air like a winner. "Both of us," she said with a playful grin. She sighed. "Best moment ever." We shared a quiet laugh. The valet started the music for the bridesmaids' entrance, a fun and lively tune. I watched my daughter's friends walk down the aisle one by one. The high heels made their legs look elegant as they moved gracefully. Sophie was the last to come, standing just in front of us, and I felt heat rush to my face. I had to shut my eyes for a moment and think of something else to calm myself. The bridal march began. That valet played well. I'd make sure he got a good tip. Kelly linked her arm with mine, and we began to walk down the aisle together. Brian smiled brightly as he watched his bride approach. The hotel staff and groomsmen had done an amazing job arranging the lobby. They had brought flower arrangements from all around and set up the wedding area beautifully. Colorful streamers were woven into the seats for the guests. Someone found a long, deep red carpet for the aisle. It was a bit worn, but it almost matched the bridesmaids' dresses. The most exciting part was the windows. Outside, the snow covered everything in a clean white layer. The afternoon sun shined through, making pretty rainbows dance around the lobby. Kelly gasped when she saw it. "Wow!" she said softly, covering her mouth with her hands. I noticed a tear in her eye. I did my part, giving my daughter's hand to her happy groom, and then I stepped back to the front row. Cece tried to make space for me next to her, but I chose to sit on the other side of her husband. "Good job on the changes," Mark said, looking all around. "Kelly looks amazing." Yes, she really does, I agreed. During the ceremony, my attention was on Sophie. The sun made it hard to see, but I thought I saw her looking at me now and then. She seemed a bit distant today, and I still wasn't sure if my daughter was right about her feelings. I remembered what Kelly had asked me earlier, a brother or sister. Sophie hadn't been very clear about using protection. Was that all she wanted? A serious relationship that could lead to a family? I felt my jaw tense. When the preacher said, "I now pronounce you," the happy couple shared a quick hug. Then Kelly leaned in and whispered something to Brian. He smiled big and then held her close for a happy moment, even as the preacher joked around. After the ceremony, I walked over to congratulate the newlyweds. Sophie had walked up the aisle with one of the groomsmen, but then she seemed to vanish. Kelly jumped into my arms, dress and all, hugging me tightly. "Daddy, it was amazing! Better than any wedding I could have dreamed of. The rainbows, everything, thank you," she said, kissing my cheek. Then more softly she added, "And thanks for everything last night. You were right." "About what?" I asked. When the preacher said we were married, I whispered to Brian that he was now my partner, just like you said. After, he paused and told me that was the best thing I could have said, and he felt so lucky to have me. And here I thought you told him something else. "He'll find that out later," she smiled. Then she tilted her head. "How did you know?" "A little bird told me." 44. Invitations. The hotel brought in extra cooks. I promised to pay them well, and we decided on a buffet instead of having waiters. Brian collected all the smartphones and music players from his friends. The hotel had set up a simple sound system, and everyone took turns as DJ so we could all dance. Every time I looked around, Sophie was either dancing with someone or I couldn't find her at all. I was sitting alone, enjoying another serving of tasty cauliflower casserole, when Missy pulled a chair next to me. "Hi, Mr. Lime," she said, as she always did. "I don't see you dancing much." "Are you feeling tired?" she asked. "Not really. Just been a long day." "Oh," she replied. "I heard you had a busy night, too. You've been showing our little friend the exciting world, right? I always thought she'd get close to you someday, and I was right." I glared at her, but she didn't seem to notice. I saw her fiddling with the hem of her dress. "I never knew you could surprise me, Mr. Lime," she said with a playful tone. "I'm glad you think so, Missy," I responded flatly. She pushed her chair in and suddenly grabbed my wrist, guiding my hand towards her knee. "I like fun experiences too," she said, trying to be playful, but it felt wrong. I pulled away and returned my hand to myself. "Missy, I don't think—" She cut me off. "Ever had a memorable night with two friends? I can set something special up with me and Sophie. Just say the word. It would be amazing." "Why don't you ask Sophie about that?" I suggested. Maybe Sophie wanted something different, but at that moment, it didn't really matter to me. "Okay," Missy replied happily. "We'll talk later," she whispered, leaning in, but I turned away so her lips brushed against my cheek instead. I finished my casserole and danced with Kelly, and then with Brian's mom. I scanned the room for Sophie and spotted her talking to a couple of groomsmen who looked really interested in her. A knot of jealousy formed in my stomach. Cece was standing a few feet away. When my ex saw me, she made sure to draw attention to herself before going back to chat with Brian's dad. It was her way of saying she was available. Looking back at Sophie, I saw she was also watching Cece. She turned to me and playfully copied Cece's pose, then smiled. Was she serious, or just teasing? I tried to reach her, but before I could get there, one of the young men took her hand and led her to the dance floor. She looked back at me and shrugged. 15. A reconciliation. I walked to the men's room, trying to understand everything happening around me. On my way back, I bumped into Sophie's mom, Claire. We hadn't talked since that tough night. This was one of the moments I had been dreading this weekend. Now I felt even worse. How could I apologize and explain what happened with her daughter? At least her husband Bill wasn't with her. I knew I would have to find him later, and I feared he might confront me. I definitely deserved what happened. We met each other's gaze at the same time, and we both stopped. I had forgotten how beautiful she was, and I understood where Sophie got her dark, thick hair, her deep brown eyes, and her round face, which seemed both innocent and charming. Memories flooded back, but I pushed them away, getting ready to finally face what I should have addressed a long time ago. Neither of us spoke for a moment, then we both blurted out, "I'm sorry," I said again. "I'm really sorry, Claire, for what I did, and for everything that happened." She tilted her head, looking confused. "Why are you apologizing, Chuck? It was all my fault," she said. "What? I don't understand," I replied, feeling lost. "I complicated your marriage, and I'm really sorry," she explained. "I was just trying to protect my daughter." "What?" "Wait a second," I responded. "Let's get this straight. None of that was your fault. First, our marriage was already having problems before that night with you. Second, what does Sophie have to do with what happened?" She sighed. "You know how Sophie felt about you." She looked away and shrugged. "Maybe she still does, I'm not sure." "What? Did everybody know about her feelings except me?" "Anyway," she continued, "she was only 17, and I was worried she would make a choice she might regret. She's my little girl, and I couldn't stand the thought of her getting hurt. I'm sure you understand. We moms worry about our daughters." I still felt confused, but I nodded. Claire went on, "I wanted to talk with you about it, but I wasn't sure how. How do you tell your best friend's husband to say no to your teenage daughter? I thought you were a good man, but I know how determined she can be when she wants something." Yes, I was starting to see that. Looking down, unable to meet my eyes, she said, "I began drinking, just to give myself some courage. Then I came to see you and you offered me some wine. I was emotional and tipsy, which was a bad mix. I thought, maybe if he is with me, he won't pay attention to her. So I leaned toward you, hoping for a connection that might not have happened otherwise." A wave of shame hit me. I looked at her in shock. All these years I thought I was the one to blame. Well, yes, I had my share of mistakes. Claire placed her hand on my chest. "I didn't mean it in that way, Chuck. You were great. It was all a bit unclear, but I remember thinking how lucky Cece was." She glanced down, a shy smile appearing on her face, her cheeks turning a light pink. "Probably the best I ever experienced," she said softly, letting her words fade away. My pride began to swell. She continued, "I think that's what embarrassed me, how much I liked it. But then Cece found out. I have no idea how. She told Bill, and well, you know the rest. I'm really sorry, Chuck. Can you forgive me?" I took her hand in mine. "Claire, there was a lot of blame to go around. Sometimes I felt like I took advantage of things. I should have held back more, but you were just so charming and kind," I said, remembering Sophie. I gently wiped a tear from her cheek. "Still, my marriage was going to end no matter what. It wasn't your fault, so don't carry that weight. I'm just sorry that you and Bill got mixed up in it, too." "Thanks, Chuck. My marriage had its own struggles. We went to some sessions, and in time, things got better," she replied. "Where is he?" I inquired, glancing around. "I haven't seen him today." She looked down sadly. "He passed away from cancer 2 years ago." I pulled her into a hug, and she rested against me, tears flowing. I felt a deep sadness, but thankfully Claire stepped back. I handed her a napkin from a nearby table. "You know," she said, "I have often wondered if I had just let things happen on their own, maybe something good would have come from you and Sophie. Maybe things would have been all right. She could have worked through her feelings. Then maybe she wouldn't have turned out." She looked at me softly. "You get what I mean, right?" "Women?" I said gently. She nodded, wiping her nose. "Your daughter Kelly is really lovely, and her husband seems nice, too. Maybe you'll have grandkids soon. It's not looking good for me," she said with a sad shrug. I paused, unsure of what to say. I still felt uncomfortable about sharing my thoughts about her daughter. "Don't lose hope, Claire," I encouraged her. "Sophie's still young. There's plenty of time ahead. You never know what could happen." So predictable, so very timid. I felt confused. I couldn't shake the feeling that Claire was hinting at something when she said, "You know, I wouldn't mind whose baby it was, even if it was just someone she never mentioned to me." She laughed softly. "I know I sound silly. I don't think she's ever been out with a guy." Could I tell her the truth? Would that make her happy or cause more trouble? With caution, I replied, "I'm pretty sure she has." "Did Kelly tell you something?" she asked, full of hope. They were always so close. "Sophie doesn't share much about her dating life with me. I guess that's for the best." "It's hard being a parent," I said, carefully avoiding her question. I repeated what I had told her daughter. Sometimes pretending can feel safe for parents. She nodded and laughed a little. Yes, that's so true. Sophie is an adult now. As I said that, I realized how wrong it felt, so I corrected myself. No, Claire, she's not just an adult. Sophie is a smart and strong young woman who is making her own path in life. Children don't always become what we dream for them, but we have to remember that our dreams are ours, not theirs. We should let them find their own way, and that will help them be happy. That's what we really want for our kids, isn't it? Yes, it is, she replied. We hugged, and I started to walk away. She grabbed my sleeve. I'm not sure if I should tell you, she said, taking a moment to think. I found out in counseling with Bill. Oh, maybe I shouldn't say anything. It's not good to speak badly about those who have passed. I waited patiently. She took a deep breath. Bill and Cece, I thought you might want to know. After you and I asked, unsure. Before, she answered softly. I'm sorry. You don't need to be sorry, Claire, I said, giving her another hug. Life is full of surprises, both good and bad. Sometimes the best moments come from the least expected places. I went off in search of Sophie. Ex-teen. Unforgettable. I saw her heading to the dance floor by herself. We need to talk, I told her. I might have sounded a bit too serious after my chat with her mom. She looked worried, and I was about to say sorry when someone called out about tossing the bouquet. Oh, okay, she said, pointing to my daughter. I need to go. Later. I nodded, and she rushed off. Kelly turned around and threw the bouquet high into the air. There was a wild scramble, with the 3 single bridesmaids jumping to catch it. To my surprise, Sophie came up smiling and waving the flowers high. My heart felt a little flutter of happiness. I started to walk toward her, but before I could reach her, Cece, Missy, and Tara pulled me away to the garter toss. Kelly sat down and adjusted her dress while Brian knelt before her. She whispered something that made him leap up with a big smile. They shared a fun moment that made people laugh, though not everyone knew what it was about. Brian playfully stretched the garter and tossed it behind him. I tried to catch it half-heartedly with some others. To my surprise, it landed right on my thumb, and Kelly was thrilled. I scanned the room for Sophie and saw that it was her turn to be DJ. Tara danced with me, and we moved together with excitement. Despite feeling a little out of shape, she was full of energy. Cece encouraged me to join in on a song I wasn't a fan of. I eventually slipped away to get a drink and sat at an empty table, thinking about what to say to Sophie. A slow dance started, one of my favorites, Unforgettable. Suddenly, I felt a hand on my shoulder. Hey, do you want to dance? It was Sophie. We held each other close, swaying to the music in a peaceful silence. She felt warm and relaxed next to me, but I could tell she was thinking about something. After a moment, she looked up at me, a bit unsure. Are you mad at me? I paused and looked back at her. No, I'm not mad. Why would I be? She pulled me closer and we kept dancing. I thought maybe last night when I fell asleep, we didn't get to finish what we started, and today I wasn't sure how you felt since you weren't saying much. I gently rubbed her back. Sophie, I'm not upset. You looked so beautiful while you were sleeping. I didn't want to wake you up. Then today, with the wedding chaos, we both got caught up in it. I was worried you thought I was upset about last night. She took a small step back and I twirled her around. Looking into her eyes, she said, Last night was special, Chuck. You were more than I hoped for. She moved in close again, resting her cheek against me. As we danced, I saw a few people watching us. My daughter, her friend Tara, and Sophie's mom were all smiling, but Cece looked a bit upset. I turned us so she could see my fingers softly touching Sophie's shoulders and neck. And forevermore, that's how you'll stay. Nat sang. I never wanted this dance to end. Sophie was quiet. Click, click, click. Then, without looking up, she said, Missy told me that you wanted to be with her, too. I laughed. No, that's not what I said. She made a suggestion, and I told her to talk to you about it first. If you want to try that, Tara is really fun, she said boldly. I imagined for a moment. I guessed it wouldn't be their first time having fun together. With bright excitement, she added, I'm sure she would love to. No, Sophie, I interrupted, quickly changing the topic. Thanks, but I'm not interested. This car only needs one driver now. Good, she replied, hugging me tight. I didn't need to see her face to know she was smiling big. The singer sang, "How the thought of you does things to me." I felt her snuggling closer. I told her, "It's fine if you still enjoy being friends with girls, or if you want to invite someone to join us sometimes. It's just—" She looked up at me quickly. "No, Chuck, I don't need to. They're great friends, and we've had good times, but they were just friends." Hearing the word friends from this sweet young woman in my arms made me chuckle. Leaning against me again, she said, "I'm serious, Chuck. I mean, we had fun, and I care about them. But it's not the same as how I feel about you. Since I first noticed boys, I knew they weren't like you. You're so smart, so kind, so classy. I never even thought about any other guy. Then you moved away, and I realized we might never be together again. Girls were all I had left. I was shocked and didn't know what to say." We danced to the last part of the song. It's amazing that someone so memorable thinks I am memorable too. Sophie, looking a bit shy, asked softly, "Is it still okay if I come visit you in Atlanta? Without anyone around that knows us, you wouldn't have to feel weird about being seen together." Did she think I felt awkward about being with her? In one quick move, I leaned her back gently, bent down, and kissed her softly. She wrapped her arms around my neck tightly. I closed my eyes, and everything around us disappeared, except for the sound of my heartbeat. Then I heard something else, a loud cheer. Everyone was clapping. At first, I thought it was just part of the wedding celebration, but then I recognized my daughter's voice. "Dad, please? Hey, audience! If you like this video and want to keep up with more thrilling stories, make sure to subscribe to Prince Cheating Tales and hit the notification bell. You don't want to miss out on our upcoming adventures. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next wonderful story."